This magician is simply not scientific. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 151 Tavern, Revolver, Story. Yes. Tucker nodded after thinking about it. Now, Tucker is a combination of his appearance and figure with that of the demon hunter Andre. In addition to Andre's burly figure, and the demon hunter Andre's habit of growing a beard, Tucker's beard on both temples has completely lost the appearance of a teenager that Tucker should have. Huh? Lamore accent? Are you from the Lamore Tower? As soon as Tucker opened his mouth, Carlos caught the point. This is also the option that Tucker deliberately reserved for his identity. Andre Lamore from Lamore must have a Lamore accent. Well, I'm in the Lamore Underground District. Tucker nodded. Carlos immediately became alert. Even the necromancer Amanti not far away looked over. Yes, the necromancer of the third level who was always shrouded in the gray fog of death was Amanti. What's your name? Carlos asked with his eyes slightly narrowed. You are checking the household registration. Tucker took a deep breath and shrugged his shoulders. He replied calmly and indifferently. If you are not the sheriff or patrolman of St. Land, I don't think I need to tell you my name. Even if you have a very powerful sister, it's the same. As expected, Tucker's words instantly angered Carlos. Tucker knew better than anyone how to anger Carlos. His eyes became sharp instantly, and Carlos, who was suppressing his anger, had already put one hand on the dagger at his waist. Impolite wizard, do you think your magic is faster or my knife is faster? I can guarantee that when you cast a spell, I can cut your shield and give you 2 big slaps. When you interrupt your spell, you will also understand how to speak properly on the long street of Lamore. You still have time to apologize now, bearded wizard. Otherwise, you will be carried out and thrown on the road. At the same time, Amanti behind Tucker also pinched the necromancy without martial ethics. At this time, Tucker turned a blind eye to the situation behind him, with a cold look on his cheeks, examining Carlos. Young man, times have changed. Compared to the knife in your hand, I think my steam revolver should be faster. Do you want to try it? When Carlos took a look, his heart froze. I saw that in the wizard's sleeves held up by Tucker. The cold muzzle with the extraordinary characteristics of execution was already aimed at Carlos. This 4th-order extraordinary steam revolver, execution, was specially made by Baggins for Tucker. Baggins knew that Tucker had extremely strong wizard skills. Ordinary self-defense steam revolvers would definitely be useless and could not participate in Tucker's level of battle. So Baggins bought a large amount of execution characteristic materials and made a 4th-order powerful steam revolver specifically for Tucker that could touch the soul at close range and execute and kill enemies who could not resist. Aim at close range and hit the soul with one shot. Execution was born for execution. Hey, Carlos, don't be scared. Just bet that there are no bullets in his gun. That's right. Anyway, the revolver can't threaten your life. We have a priest here who can save you. This new wizard actually brought a steam revolver. Is he not confident in his witchcraft? He has been corrupted by the atmosphere of St. Land. That's right, the extraordinary people here in St. Land like to carry this kind of steam guns. They are a bunch of bastards who don't follow the morals of martial arts. Hey, wizard, why doesn't your revolver fire? Try it. At this time, the extraordinary people not far away were not afraid of trouble and started to make a fuss. These bastards. Carlos was so angry that he was shaking. He felt that the execution feature of the revolver was a great threat to him. If you can put away your revolver, I might buy you a drink. At this time, a voice that was not loud but very clear sounded. Zillor, who went to the back to hand over the vampire's head, had returned. I'm happy to do it. Tucker smiled and directly put the super steam revolver, execution, into the super bracelet. The small confrontation was easily resolved by Zillor's words. The bartender also brought Tucker another glass of oakstone fruit wine in time. The supers not far away were disappointed that there was no blood. They liked to see the big scene of bloodshed. Looking at the wizard who disarmed directly in front of him, Carlos, who was left aside, felt that he was heading cotton in a circle, and his already depressed mood became even more depressed. I don't remember that there is a person like you in Lamore. Tucker was drinking oakstone fruit wine. Zillor on the side looked over. I'm just a nobody, not as good as you dazzling geniuses. And, all along, after taking a sip of wine, Tucker talked about the past with a little melancholy. I'm an unlucky person. During the Great Escape, I didn't have time to run to St. Lander. Those damn Dark Sun Evil Fallen chased me so fiercely that my wizard robe was torn to pieces. Fortunately, my physique is strong enough and I can run fast enough. Of course, my speed is still slower than that of the assassins. Carlos, who was eavesdropping on the side, was stunned. He felt that the other party did it on purpose, but he had no evidence. Being chased wildly, I had no choice but to go to the Black River Valley. Black River Valley. Zyluo paused. Some time ago, there was a lot of movement in the Black River Valley. Yes. Tucker let out a long breath and said with a slightly complaining tone. You see, my luck is sometimes so bad. When I went to the Black River Valley, I met a kind shepherd who took me in and raised sheep there for half a year. I sold the sheep with great difficulty and thought I could come to St. Lander to live a good life. I even hoped to find a girl from St. Lander to live with me. As a result, I almost died in the Black River Valley just after selling the sheep. At that time, the horrible puppet silk thread almost filled my entire field of vision. I was dragged into the depths of darkness. Death and darkness almost swallowed me. I was really just a little bit away from death. Then, suddenly, those strange silk threads disappeared, and there was light to illuminate my way forward. Oh, great three-eyed God, I was almost moved to tears at that time. A miracle, it is definitely a miracle. I dragged my tired body and fled from the riverside town, and fled from that damn horrible place. I was deep in the cave, where the flock of sheep huddled together and spent the most difficult days. You should also know what happened later. And I only found out after I came to Black River Valley for a while. It was Blasphemer Tucker who killed that damn puppeteer. What a great job. Thanks to the great three-eyed God, thanks to Blasphemer Tucker. I saved my life. Tucker's face was filled with smiles. Tucker's vivid description made many extraordinary people around him listen attentively. You didn't come here to inquire about Blasphemer Tucker's news. At this time, Carlos lowered his voice and asked. Tucker glanced at Carlos and said unhappily. Although I'm a bit unlucky, I'm very clear-headed. Is Blasphemer Tucker qualified to inquire about him as a superhuman of my strength? Can a superhuman of my level participate in a war of that level? My greatest characteristic is that I know myself. What I hope most now is that I can find a local girl in St. Land, preferably one who has a house in the local area. In this way, I don't have to worry about the damn rent. Tucker's righteous and stern words of soft rice made many superhumans look at him with contempt. As a wizard who has already reached the second level, if he has a little ambition. I dare not say that I have made a lot of money in St. Land. But at least after paying the rent and getting drunk in the tavern, there is still some money left in my pocket. Unless, there are some bad habits. So, are you looking for girls in the tavern? Zyluo's tone was a little unfriendly. Of course not. Tucker straightened his back. After coming to St. Land, my luck seems to have improved a little. Although I hope to find the girl from St. Land in my heart, before that, I need to earn more magic gold. But the underground is really too dangerous, and I don't want to run into a dead end when I escape. I don't know when my bad luck will strike. I heard that there is a Lamore Mutual Aid Association here. I hope to get some magic drawings of the framework diagram deeper in the dungeon from here. And, in recent times, the location information of the werewolves and vampires in the dungeon. This way I will be safer after entering the underground. Tucker's words made Zyluo suddenly confused about the strange wizard in front of him. You say he is powerful, he actually wants to eat the soft rice of the St. Land girl. If you say he wants to eat soft rice, he actually dares to go deep underground and hunt those vampires. A strong soft rice man, a very strange combination. Looking at Zyluo who was thinking. Tucker said at the right time, I know that the information is very important, so I can pay magic gold for it. Of course, I hope you can be cheaper. I don't have much money. Looking up and down at this slightly burly extraordinary wizard. Zyluo has already stood up and said, no, that is not important information, I will give it to you for free. But there is a condition. What condition? You have to hand in the vampire heads you hunt here. Of course, this is a kind of help, not a mandatory requirement. Because, part of the income from the vampire heads or werewolf heads handed in here will be handed over to Lamore Street, which will make our place better built. Deal. Tucker nodded straightforwardly. Chapter 152 Dangerous. More than an hour later, Tucker walked out of the Steamstone Tower at the end of Lamore Street with satisfaction. This Steamstone Tower is under the Lamore Street office. It is the gathering place of many powerful supernatural people in Lamore. At the same time, it also stores a lot of resource information, especially the resource information of the underground world. Tucker copied a lot of magic scrolls about the three-dimensional map of the underground world from it. The original map drawings are no longer very useful now, because the Blood Clan will also change the terrain, build barriers, and transform the underground world into the ecological form they like. The latest safe passages and areas that can be passed are stored in the Steamstone Tower of Lamore Street. Most importantly, these magic drawings contain a lot of information about Blood Clan castles and werewolf nests. This information is the most important, and it cannot be bought outside. In front of the Stone Tower of Lamore Street, Ziller looked at the second-level supernatural wizard named Andre who had disappeared into the street, and he was thoughtful. At this time, the invisible Carlos on the side spoke. Should we follow him and find out his background? There are so many people who want to get information about Tucker from us. This guy's methods are unique. After thinking for a while, Ziller slowly shook his head. No need. We don't need to ask once when someone from Lamore comes. If this guy continues to come later, it won't be too late to slowly find out his background. Yes, Carlos nodded. Deep in the street, Tucker was walking forward, rubbing his fingers slightly. No one followed, which was somewhat beyond Tucker's expectations. Not only did Ziller's men not follow, even the few people who were originally in the museum and looked at me a little strangely did not follow. That's good. Anyway, whether they follow or not, the results they find out will be the same. I'm just an ordinary wizard. On the street, Tucker walked alone and thought. In the alchemy secret room, Tucker's eyes were slightly fixed on the magical seeds in the flower pot in front of him. The magical seeds that were planted yesterday. Today, they have already shown a state of absorbing the surrounding source energy and starting to grow roots. The magical seeds have sprouted. This is undoubtedly an exciting good news. If possible, the magical seeds cannot be moved easily, because they need to absorb the surrounding source energy veins and form a better adaptation with the surrounding ecological environment. Once moved, the seeds must adapt to the ecology again. Secondly, pour more nutrient solution, which really helps the growth of magical seeds. After observing and summarizing some experience, Tucker breathed a sigh of relief. After pouring another bottle of nutrient solution, Tucker thought about buying more of this nutrient solution next time he went to the Thornflower Magic Tower to study. After turning on the source energy steam engine, Tucker refined the materials while thinking about what he had gained today. Tucker has memorized these magic drawings in all aspects, and constructed the memory veins in his mind. When the level is passed, Tucker can adapt to it better by exploring it himself. Tucker entered the world deep underground in Saint Land, on the one hand to familiarize himself with the environment there and prepare for the next trip to the Dwarf Treasure. Another purpose is that Tucker wants to prepare the flying feature for his magic house. As long as there are enough flying features and they are strong enough, it only needs a little extra power. The magic house can fly. That's how those steam airships and steam flying castles in the extraordinary world came from. Where does the flying feature come from? Naturally, it is obtained from flying creatures. Tucker learned from Ziller that there are many Blood Clan fortresses deep underground. The number of bats there is so large that it explodes. Extracting those flying features from Blood Clan bats is obviously a big project. Tucker is afraid that he will be exhausted to death if he extracts them one by one. Compared with those low-level bats, those Blood Clans are different. The Blood Clans have condensed the extraordinary crystals that can be presented. The condensed flying features are also quite impressive. And the Blood Clan. In the underground world, there are also many. Obtaining the flying feature from the Blood Clan is also Tucker's second important purpose for entering the underground. As for the third purpose, it is purely to eliminate the Blood Clan. Whether it was on the bulletin board at the end of the long street where Tucker was, or on the display board of the steam bus, there were slogans calling on the extraordinary people to eliminate the underground vampires. It seemed that it was just the rampage of the underground vampires and werewolves. On a deeper level, it was the confrontation between the Dark Sun ecology and the Saint Land ecology. Moreover, the Dark Sun Church was very cunning. They knew that they would definitely not win in a head-on confrontation with the Saint Land ecology. Therefore, they used the underground world as a stepping stone early on. They open up the Saintland ecology and raised the vampires and werewolves in the Saintland ecology. It was the vampires and werewolves that proliferated, and what was consumed was the power of the Saintland world ecology. The war between the Saintland and the Dark Sun Church's extraordinary ecology was going on all the time and had never stopped. 2 or 3 days later, on a seemingly ordinary day, Tucker finished a whole day of study in the Thornflower Extraordinary Tower. Tucker, who had made sufficient preparations, quietly disappeared from the corner of his alley. About half an hour later, Tucker, who was in the shadow state, appeared at the entrance of an extremely hidden wind tunnel. Next to Tucker was the Shadow Flame Wolf leader. During this period, Tucker didn't pay much attention to the Shadow Flame Wolf leader. But looking at the guy's appearance, it was obvious that he was living a comfortable life in the shadow layer of Saintland. Who? The wind tunnel in front of him was only more than 3 meters wide in diameter. Looking down, it was twisted and deep. If it was just narrow and rugged, it would be fine. This wind tunnel was very fierce and rapid, and the wind would occasionally be cut off. Cutting off the wind was the most fatal. After thinking for a while, Tucker looked at the Shadow Wolf leader. It's very dangerous down there, and it's the edge of the Saintlander ecological world. The shadow dimension is not solid and stable. Although I can save you if you fall into the deep space, the taste of the deep space is not something you and I can experience casually. It seems that there is nothing in there, but deep space itself has destructive properties to ecology, life, extraordinary life forms, etc. Even the deep space environment will penetrate and pollute our extraordinary ecology. Not to mention, if we encounter some indescribable sound, light, or other forms of terrible power in the depths of the void, you and I will all die. So, when you follow me in the shadow layer, when you feel that the shadow dimension is not stable, come to the real layer and don't enter the shadow layer again. Woo woo. The leader of the Shadow Flame Demon Wolf whimpered softly, indicating that he understood. Tucker's purpose is different from that of ordinary extraordinary people. Even Tucker's goals and means of this trip are relatively cruel and bloody. Naturally, he needs to bypass those extraordinary people from Saintlander. It was almost ready. Tucker, with a light blazing bracelet in his left hand and the shadow ring staff in his right hand, entered the shadow state directly. At the same time, under Tucker's perfect control, the light blazing bracelet also entered the hazy shadow state. Then, Tucker jumped down along this dangerous wind tunnel. Chapter 153, the one we are fishing for is the vampires. The ecology of the Saintland world, deep underground. Compared with the underground ecology of Lamor, the Saintland underground world is affected by the multiple layers of Saintland and the world ecology itself. The underground space here is wider. Therefore, this also gives the blood race a huge space to play. Along the way, the huge passage cracks that are hundreds of meters high are densely packed with vampire bats, and their number is countless. It is no wonder that when Tucker copied the magic map, Zalua reminded Tucker on the side. Even if you are a wizard, you can't easily go to open places that are easily exposed. Once you are discovered by the blood race, those vampire bats alone can easily kill you. Sharp and slight squeaks permeated this huge underground space world, like a dense net. Any extraordinary person who broke into this area would find it difficult to escape the detection of these dense sound networks. At this time, in the dark and humid depths, Tucker in the shadow state was standing quietly in the corner of the rubble. The sound waves surging on Tucker silently penetrated Tucker's shadow state without any abnormal fluctuations. In the detection system of those bloodthirsty bats, Tucker was completely transparent. It was precisely because of this that Tucker was able to go deep into the deep underground. At this time, Tucker, who was hiding in the corner, was looking at a large Blood Clan castle on the distant cliff. There were many Blood Clans in it, and the purpose of this trip was to find the many Blood Clans. Of course, the bats on the top were also one of Tucker's available resources. After staring for a long time, Tucker slowly retracted his gaze and placed it on the huge stone pillars and wall barriers around him. My base is built near the Blood Clan castle. Even they themselves probably didn't expect someone to be so bold as to hunt at their door. After thinking for a while, Tucker began to act. In a remote corner, using the shadow state, Tucker squeezed into the depths of a crack. After finding a suitable position, Tucker took out the small wooden board for the barrier ceremony. After lighting the candles, Tucker began to chant in a low voice to summon the Great Barrier. Soon, the power of the barrier was delivered along with the fire of the sacrifice and the ritual. and the scene happened to be discovered by the bats in the cracks. Squeak! The bats in the cracks quickly called out. But soon, the rock walls on both sides of Tucker were stretched out like soft dough, and then gathered together at the edge, completely isolating Tucker from the outside world. The vampire bats that had just been a little agitated sniffed back and forth, and found nothing, so they slowly quieted down. Today, Tucker has absorbed the power of the iron coupling source wall to a very high level. Tucker's own steam wizard ecology has also shown the outline of the barrier state of the iron coupling source wall in the edge area. This is a very good phenomenon, and it is also a phenomenon that Tucker has been looking forward to for a long time. Extraordinary ecology. The more complex and powerful the better. The balance of multiple extraordinary ecologies allows Tucker to fight against more powerful ecological forces. As the power of the iron coupling source wall that Tucker himself owns is strong enough. Now, Tucker can use the barrier ritual to expand space between walls and barriers and walk freely. The rune hand picked up the small wooden board of the ritual. He manipulated the barrier ritual in this way, treating the rock as a body of water and the space he expanded as a bubble, and began to move his position in it. With a positioning of feasibility, Tucker soon entered the rock wall about 20 meters deep. After rapidly expanding the internal space, Tucker began a series of operations to construct the internal environment of the wall barrier. Before, Tucker did this in his rented small house. Now he is familiar with the operation again. About 2 hours later, a very large barrier chamber with hidden and wind ducts was built by Tucker. After patrolling back and forth in the barrier chamber and feeling it carefully, Tucker nodded with satisfaction. The barrier chamber is a combination of the iron coupling source wall and the silver holy wall. Even if it is discovered by the 6th level blood clan, Tucker can escape calmly. Before arriving here, Tucker had left many phase nodes on the way here. It would be too easy to escape. Moreover, the wall itself was extremely hard because of Saint Land. With the blood race's poor attacking methods, they might not be able to break in. The stage has been set, and the protagonists will start to appear next. Well, it's to catch the blood race. With this in mind, Tucker traveled through a phase and came to another higher passage far away from the barrier chamber. This passage is located at the upwind side of the blood race castle and is relatively narrow, with a diameter of only about 3 or 4 meters, which is very suitable for a trap passage. After using the barrier ritual to slightly transform the trap passage, Tucker flipped his hand and took out the blood he had prepared long ago. This is the blood of a second-level female extraordinary person who has not broken her virginity. The price is not cheap, but it has a fatal attraction to those blood races. After dripping 3 or 4 drops of blood on the ground, Tucker used the shadow state to perfectly blend into the darkness in the corner. Even if the vampires have the ability of night vision, with Tucker's current ability to control concealment, he is confident that the vampires below level 40 will not see him. Unconsciously, half an hour passed. Tucker frowned slightly. Is the dripping blood too little? Should we increase the force? If we increase the force, a group of them will come at once, which may be a bit troublesome. Just as Tucker was thinking about whether to increase the force or not, or just wait a little longer, a huge bat with black hair and a wingspan of 1 meter fell down. With a surge of dark source mist, the bat of level 15 changed its form into a human. He looked about 17 or 18 years old, with delicate features and fair skin. The young vampire sniffed the air twice. Suddenly, the bloodthirsty desire surged. Full of the rich fragrance of a young girl and the sweet smell of blood. A human girl who was injured and fled. For a moment, the young vampire vaguely thought of the wonderful fairy tale told by an old vampire at a previous vampire gathering, in which a human girl was willing to give her blood and life to the vampires in exchange for the first embrace. While imagining this wonderful story, the 15th level vampire was about to explore further. He found that he was shrinking rapidly. What's going on? Haven't I completely mastered the human form? How can I automatically transform back to the bat form? But the next moment, the young vampire found something wrong. Damn! This is not a bat form, this is bleeding. The young vampire trembled and made a sheep-like sound. When he lowered his head to examine himself, he found that he had turned into a sheep. The next moment, the young vampire sheep was pushed violently by a hand. The vampire sheep only felt that the space around him was stretched instantly, and the surrounding vision became blurred. When he stabilized his body again, he found that he was already in a huge closed cave. And here, it's like a slaughterhouse. A trap. This is a trap specially set by despicable humans. The young vampire roared in anger. But he could only make sheep-like sounds in rage. The sheep transformation technique, the phase throw of the rune hand, directly threw the target phase into the previous barrier chamber. Tucker used this action smoothly. Not bad. Tucker smiled lightly. It's just that the efficiency is a little slow. Just increase the strength a little bit. After dripping a few drops of blood again, Tucker continued to wait. This time, it took less than 5 minutes. 2 vampire bats flew into the passage together. One was a level 29 vampire who was close to adulthood, and the other was a level 18 underage vampire. Be careful, there are traces of human blood. The level 29 vampire looked around and whispered. The next moment, the level 29 vampire had already turned into a sheep. The level 18 vampire next to him hadn't reacted yet. Bang! A fierce punch, the terrifying power contained in it, directly passed through his skull, poured into his brain and the depths of his soul. The powerful physical hypnosis effect was perfectly presented on this level 18 vampire. With his third hand, it's convenient. One turns into a sheep and the other hypnotizes. Tucker, hiding in the shadow corner, used blood to start fishing for the vampires. 1. Directly turns into a sheep. 2. Turns into sheep plus hypnotize. 3 or more. Then Tucker directly used the power of the barrier ritual to directly close the passages on both sides, and then slowly cleaned up. As time went on, the number of vampires captured by Tucker continued to increase. Chapter 154 The Revolver of Destiny. 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep. Using the nightmare kerosene bomb as a light source, more than 30 wall lamps lit up the entire huge fortress secret room or vampire factory brightly. As Tucker counted, the many vampire sheep below were trembling. These vampires, from the experienced vampires at level 35 to the fledgling vampires at level 12, were all turned into sheep by the evil human wizard in front of them. For a long time, in the fairy tales of their vampires, human wizards were the embodiment of evil, shamelessness, greed, and ugliness. They would eventually be defeated by their heroic vampires and then transformed into their blood servants. The vampires were always the final winners. And humans were defeated miserably. But today, the story seemed a little different. Some, realistic. And some, cruel. A total of 35 sheep. As the counting was completed, Tucker's eyes narrowed slightly and nodded. You can slaughter them. Outside, whether there is a battle or blood is leaking, it will be discovered by the vampire bats, causing large-scale agitation. Soon the information will be transmitted to the vampires wandering nearby. A large number of vampire bat attacks and vampire attacks are often mixed together. If you are not careful, you will be attacked by the vampires. Therefore, it is very dangerous to fight outside. In fact, when the scale of the battle is relatively large, it is easy to encounter those high-level vampires and werewolves. Even Tucker dare not fight casually in the vampire territory. But Tucker used his own means to build a hidden underground base underground. That's completely different. With a base, there is endurance, recovery, and the foundation for sustainable development. Tucker can completely regard this place as a long-term safe place to hunt and slaughter vampires here. He can also continuously use a large number of bats to collect enough flight characteristics. Before being discovered here, Tucker can regard this place as a safe base for entering the underground world. Tucker could even use this base as a springboard to build more such safe bases around or deep inside. You know, the vampire ecology of this underground world has already been formed. It is even difficult for human extraordinary people to go deep into here. It is not easy to carve out a small territory of their own in the vampire ecology. Bang! With a roar and end of the gunshots, all the vampire sheep held their breath. A second-level vampire just restored the outline of the vampire human body. The roar of the gunshot blew up its head. The blood flowed and entered the groove of the magic circle below. In the center of the groove of the magic circle was a blood pool of medium size. This human wanted to use the blood of their vampires to build the blood pool ecology and condense blood crystals. Almost all the vampires understood what this human was going to do, because their vampires did this to humans before. After the second-level vampire condensed the second-level vampire extraordinary characteristics, Tucker took it in front of him and observed it carefully. The extraordinary characteristics are just so-so, but it's a pity that he doesn't even have the title of Baron. Then, Tucker kicked the body of the vampire into the magic circle below. Soon, The blood that had been activated by the blood pool magic circle turned into sticky tentacles that devoured and absorbed the body of the vampire. Maximizing resource utilization. This is another major advantage of Tucker's establishment of this barrier security base. Plunder the resources on the opponent, and then use execution to execute them. The blood enters the blood pool magic circle, and the activated blood will devour their flesh and squeeze out the last drop of their value. Tucker's base is definitely a vampire slaughterhouse. Bang! 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 One shot after another. Tucker kept executing one vampire after another. When the 7th vampire was executed, Tucker felt that his extraordinary steam revolver, execution, was full. Tucker stopped executing. At this time, the many vampires who were crowded together, some of the vampires of lower levels, were almost paralyzed by fear. Even those vampires of higher levels were deeply shocked by the bloody, terrifying, and cruel methods of the evil human wizard in front of them. Killing vampires, no matter how you say it, is either out of deep hatred, or with a cold face, or like a madman who enjoys the process with a twisted mind. But no. The human wizard in front of him had no emotions at all. Killing one vampire after another, in the wizard's view, he was not killing lives. It was like eating melon seeds, letting it go naturally. Calm, indifferent, and even a little indifferent. This guy is like a demon, even more demonic than a demon. At this time, the demon Tucker in the eyes of the vampire sheep was carefully feeling the 4th level extraordinary steam revolver, execution. As a 4th level extraordinary steam weapon, the characteristics of execution are very interesting. There is no such extraordinary characteristic as execution in the world. But as more people are executed, the extraordinary characteristic of execution is also obtained. Just like the 3 characteristics of strength, physique and speed are combined to build the original version of the knight. Or, knight, plus, steam core, builds the current version of steam knight, in the steam wave era. The extraordinary characteristic of execution is also formed by the gathering and transformation of many extraordinary characteristics such as killing, fear, and despair. The execution in Tucker's hand can obtain a certain amount of execution characteristics by executing enemies. While enhancing its own execution extraordinary characteristics, it also allows it to slowly accumulate the foundation for promotion to the 5th level. If there are many audiences during the execution, the effect will be particularly good. This revolver has just begun to absorb the execution characteristics and has killed only 7 vampires, and it is already a bit saturated. Although it can continue to kill, it will cause a certain amount of waste. After all, Tucker has plenty of time to execute slowly. At the same time, Tucker also believes that as this guy follows him, sooner or later, its appetite will be amazing. While thinking, Tucker waved the execution in his hand towards the many vampire sheep in panic in the distance, and said slowly and methodically, "Don't worry, it's all death anyway, so why not be happy? Feel the last, fearful time with your heart." Tucker's words made these vampire sheep curse in their hearts. "This damn demon, even if we die, we will curse you." Unfortunately, except for a burst of bleeding, they can't make any language. After patrolling around the blood pool magic circle and confirming that the blood pool ecology is functioning normally, and that small blood pool trees should grow soon, Tucker nodded with satisfaction. Tucker stood up and prepared to rest on the platform for a while, and study the puppet silk thread. During this period, Tucker has read a lot of books on the puppeteer sequence. He has a deep understanding of puppet silk thread. Tucker can already borrow the 5th level puppet silk crystal to slowly weave puppet silk thread. After Tucker thoroughly studies it, he will find the right material. Ask Baggins to help forge it, and then Tucker will be able to produce and control a large number of puppet threads by himself. Now Tucker can only make the puppet threads of the 5th level puppet thread step by step. But with research, Tucker may not be unable to condense the world puppet thread that fits the world veins. In addition to studying puppet threads, comprehending the rune mystery is also Tucker's daily compulsory course. Now, Tucker has increasingly felt the power of the rune mystery. If there was only a ring staff, Tucker might not have come to such a deep place and played so big. But with a rich rune mystery, now Tucker just wants to make a big wave in this underground world. Tucker just walked onto the stone platform and sat down cross-legged. He heard a level 34 blood sheep in the group of blood sheep below calling frantically, and it kept calling at himself. Looking at the bleeding level 34 blood sheep, Tucker said slowly, "If you don't have something very important, I will understand that your behavior is to actively select the first place in the next round of execution of vampires. Tucker had already understood the language function of the vampire sheep as soon as he finished speaking. The vampire sheep said immediately, "Dear human wizard, I have something very important to report to you. I pray that you can spare my life." Tucker raised his eyebrows slightly. "I like polite guys." Immediately, Tucker took out the Steam Extraordinary revolver and gently turned the wheel. Da-da-da. The sound of the wheel turning was like the turning of the wheel of fate. The importance of the information you explain will determine the chips of your game with fate. Please start your performance. Chapter 155, Plotting Against the Vampire Castle. Looking at the rotating steam revolver, the third-level vampire Alan Dia cursed in his heart. But he didn't dare to show it. Judging from the cruelty of the human wizard in front of him, if he showed a little disrespect, the outcome would be obvious. "Dear human wizard, I can provide a lot of information about the vampire castle of Count Leonard Moore not far away," Alan Dia said slowly. "There are a lot of blood crystals in the vampire castle of Count Leonard Moore, and they are all high-quality blood crystals with a flight property. As a wizard, you should know that steam airships are the most popular steam products in the human world now. Many forging steam airship factories require a large number of blood crystals with flight properties. It is difficult for humans to obtain a large number of blood crystals with flight properties, but it is too easy for us vampires. If I am not mistaken, the blood pool you built should also be intended to obtain these blood crystals to a certain extent, right? It must be said that this third-level vampire still has something. Go on." Tucker thought for a moment and nodded. "The blood crystals in Count Leonard Moore's castle will be a rich harvest for you. And I know where the blood crystals are hidden, and I know when Count Leonard Moore will leave. If you want, I can take you to the Blood Clan castle and help you get a rich harvest. Of course, if you don't trust me, I can also describe all the details in detail. You can verify it yourself. And all you need to pay is the life of an insignificant blood clan. Even, if you want, I am willing to serve a powerful human like you." This blood clan was too submissive, so that Tucker was a little uncomfortable. "Why?" Tucker asked slowly with a slight smile on his lips. "Because I don't want to die," Alan Dia said straightforwardly. "What if I say that I ask you to kill all the other blood clans?" Tucker laughed. "I will obey your orders without hesitation." Alan Dia didn't hesitate at all. Tucker laughed softly. "I think you should be the talent I need now. I like you very much." Tucker waved his hand. The vampire named Alan Dia in front of him quickly reverted to the form of a human vampire. Even if he reverted to the form of a human vampire, he recovered all his strength. Even his weapons and extraordinary storage bracelets were in his hands. This vampire named Alan Dia still did not have the slightest intention of struggling. Of course, for this vampire with the title of third-level Baron, the title crown is obviously not very powerful, and the strength is only at the level of elite vampires. Such vampires, Tucker will kill as many as they come. Detailedly explain everything in the vampire castle, I mean. Tucker's eyes narrowed slightly. Everything. Vampire Alan Dia trembled slightly and took a deep breath before speaking. "Devlin, the third Viscountess of Count Leonard Moore, is my lover. Or rather, Count Leonard Moore used his title to transform Devlin into his lower-ranking vampire lady. And before that, Devlin had always been with me." Tucker raised his eyebrows slightly. He didn't expect that this question would really lead to a big drama of love and hatred. If it was just for the sake of survival, he wouldn't be so submissive. Sure enough, there was another hidden story. "As long as I can solve or even destroy Count Leonard Moore's vampire castle, I'm willing to do anything," Alan Dia said in a deep voice with his fists clenched. "What if I ask you to kill the female vampire named Devlin?" Tucker looked at this vampire who only had the title of Baron. "I hope you can spare her life. I promise she won't be your enemy. Even if you are willing to destroy Count Leonard Moore's Blood Clan castle and the Blood Pond tree, Devlin is even willing to help you kill the two Viscountesses of the Blood Clan Count." Tucker pondered over what the third-level Baron Blood Clan said. After thinking for a while, Tucker asked, "What's the level of the Earl?" "Level 59. "What about the two Viscountesses?" "One is level 48, the other is level 45. "What about your little lover?" "Level 44. "How many vampire guards are there?" "There are 12 Baron vampire guards in their 40s. There should be some hidden ones, but not many. The rest of the vampires in their 30s with Baron titles are not many, more than 20. There are more than 150 vampires of other levels. and you have captured nearly 1/6 of the vampires in the vampire castle. This may arouse the vigilance of Count Leonard Moore. Count Leonard Moore has always been a cautious vampire count. But you still stole his wife? Tucker joked. It is possible that Count Leonard Moore knows about this, Alandia said seriously. This made Tucker raise his eyebrows slightly. If it is true, Count Leonard Moore, who tolerated being labeled and sought powerful strength, was really a bearing humiliation character. I guess, once the Count Leonard Moore completed the 60th level advancement, you and your little lover will both die, right? Tucker said while rubbing his fingers. And this is why I am willing to join you wholeheartedly. If you offend a vampire count, and a vampire count with a strong background, the end will be even worse. Alandia didn't mind explaining his true thoughts. And all these scenes were heard by the members of the vampire castle of Count Leonard Moore below. Suddenly, there was another round of bleeding. Bang! Bang! Tucker fired 2 shots in the air, and the roar shocked the whole audience, making those vampire sheep shut up collectively. Tucker thought seriously. During the conversation, tackling Steam Origin's spiritual state carefully felt the other party's emotional fluctuations. What he said was probably true. The Blood Clan Castle is similar to the Steam Wizard Tower of humans. It has an extremely amazing blessing for the Blood Clan. The Earl of the Blood Clan is already at top leader level, even close to the strength of the Lord. And in the Blood Clan Castle, there is no doubt that this 59th level Count Leonard Moore is a terrifying Lord level strength. And this is why Tucker dare not easily break into the Blood Clan Castle. And the Blood Clan with the 4th level Viscount title has the strength of an ordinary leader level. In the Blood Clan Castle, it has the top leader level strength. The Blood Clan sequence itself is naturally a relatively powerful existence. Recovery ability, speed and flexibility, combined with their own sequence characteristics. In the Blood Clan Castle, even the Viscount Blood Clan will be extremely difficult to deal with. What's more, the opponent is a 5th level Earl, 3 4th level Viscounts, and an unknown number of 4th level Barons. However, if everything is as Alandia said, he knows when the powerful Earl Leonard Moore will leave. He is more capable of inciting a 4th level Viscountess to rebel. Then the top combat power of both sides is equivalent to a tie. For the sake of safety, Tucker can add some more combat power to himself. Then, this powerful Blood Clan Castle can be taken directly. The castle of a 5th level Earl has the blood crystal with a flying characteristic that Tucker desires very much. This is undoubtedly an opportunity for Tucker to let his dream fly. It is also the first step for Tucker to fight against and eliminate the Blood Clan ecology to a certain extent. Although the dream is good. But Tucker still stands very firmly. Before that, Tucker needs to complete many aspects of verification, and even needs to contact this little lover of Alandia. If Alandia dares to lie even a little bit, Tucker guarantees that the other party will see his grandmother in the blazing bright flames. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 156 Phase Jump Pad. More than 2 hours later, Tucker's questioning of the Blood Clan Baron Alandia came to an end. After more than 2 hours of continuous interrogation, Alandia felt that his head was about to explode. Now he swore that even if the wizard in front of him asked him what color his underwear was, he would not hesitate to lift his coat and let the other party take a closer look. At this time, Tucker sorted out the information he had learned from Alandia in detail in his mind. This guy who seemed a little infatuated, timid and afraid of death, but also had some courage. Although he didn't remember some details about the castle very clearly. But the overall situation in the Earl's castle, this guy's description was no different before and after. And Tucker also constructed a relatively complete internal situation of the Blood Clan Earl's castle through the memory vein. When is the next blood tide? Tucker asked casually. 5 days later, it will last for 2 to 3 days. Alandia responded subconsciously. During the more than 2 hours of questioning, Tucker would intersperse some very strange questions. Even completely irrelevant questions, so as to interrupt his train of thought and make it difficult for him to lie. At that time, Count Leonard Moore will participate in the Blood Clan Council. It is also our only chance to act. Good. Tucker nodded slightly. Then he looked at the many Blood Clan sheep and showed a slightly bloody smile. To celebrate that, I got some good news. I decided to randomly draw 2 lucky viewers and then execute them. The sheep were immediately terrified. Soon. Bang! Bang! With the end of 2 gunshots, the 2 blood clans fell in a pool of blood. Their blood and corpses nourished a blood pool tree. And fear filled the hearts of all the blood clan sheep. This damn terrifying demon. Almost all the blood clan sheep were cursing in their hearts. Tucker sat cross-legged on the stone platform silently, thinking about the feasibility of attacking the blood clan castle. Even if what Alan Diaz said is true, if I enter the vampire castle alone, I will definitely not be able to fight 4 people with my 2 fists. And I have not really experienced the power of the vampire castle. To be honest, this Baron Vampire has a low title, and he doesn't know what terrible means the 4th level Vampire Viscount has with the blessing of the vampire castle. Let's not talk about whether the vampire named Daphulin is really willing to turn against us. Even if he is really willing to turn against us, the Earl will definitely not let him control the power of the vampire castle when he knows that Daphulin wears a hat for him every day. At that time, I will have to bear everything alone. Tucker took a deep breath. I need a helper. At the same time, I also need to expand my shadow power. Tucker quietly thought about the power he could mobilize. Andre, I heard that the demon hunters are all hunting werewolves in the south. Werewolves are easier to kill than vampires after all. This group of demon hunters is just picking the soft ones first. Andre is a great exorcist, but he's still not good enough for a head-on confrontation. Besides, there are only 5 days, it might be a bit difficult to find that guy. Xyluer. Tucker's eyes narrowed slightly, thinking quietly. Xyluer seems to have mastered some kind of power that ignores terrain. Could it be that this is the ability of the Steam Knight she gained after being promoted to the 3rd level? Besides, her mount seems to have a certain characteristic of ignoring gravity. Xyluer can hunt the 3rd level Viscount, and her strength is unquestionable. Add to that my Shadow Flame Demon Wolf leader, it's almost enough. Even if we can't beat him, at least, we can run away. Xyluer should be very interested in the destruction of the vampire castle. This is one of the rare ways to eliminate the power of the Dark Sun Church. With this in mind, Tucker spoke softly. Demon Wolf. In a shadowy corner not far away, the tall, burly, and strong figure of the Shadow Flame Demon Wolf leader walked out of the shadow. When they saw the 3rd level Shadow Demon Wolf leader appear, Alan Dia and the Blood Clan sheep all trembled slightly. They didn't know how strong this wizard was, but they knew the strength of the 3rd level Shadow Demon Wolf leader. Shadow creatures have speed and flexibility that are not inferior to their blood clan. The blood methods of their blood clan have little effect on shadow creatures. On the contrary, the attacks of shadow creatures can easily cause fatal injuries to their blood clan. Just this 3rd level Shadow Demon Wolf leader, they may not be able to beat all the blood clans together. And such a powerful demon wolf leader is just a summoned creature of the wizard in front of them. When they looked at the human wizard again, despair completely drowned their last glimmer of hope. Keep an eye on them, and bite them to death if there is any abnormal movement. Tucker ordered indifferently. The Shadow Flame Wolf leader nudged Tucker and made a low humming sound. After giving the order, Tucker walked through and left the Blood Clan slaughter base. Tucker's foothold was a small secret room separated from the Blood Clan slaughterhouse by only one wall. Trust in the Blood Clan? Not there. Instead, Tucker was happy to give the other party a chance to resist. Many times, as long as the enemy is given a little chance, the enemy will rush forward without hesitation, to die. Tucker, who was not in a hurry to leave, sat down quietly in the small secret room. As Tucker condensed many rune mysteries into rune rings, Tucker's ecological operation efficiency was obviously much higher and smoother. During this period, the perception of the extraordinary state of life, the perception of the rune mysteries, and the many in-depth fits with the ecology of the extraordinary world of Saint Land. After entering Saint Land, Tucker has clearly felt that he can steadily improve his level. Level 26 and 27 can be upgraded. Let's upgrade one level first. Tucker opened the attribute panel and upgraded his level from level 25 to level 26. Of course, Tucker also upgraded the original Dark Sea to level 26. By the way, Tucker invested Source Energy Experience to expand the Origin Dark Sea and invested Experience to increase the magical energy of the magical power, Phase Walking. After completing these daily tasks, Tucker went to his Steam Wizard Sequence Ecological Feeling. Because of the previous rune secret weight training, now I can summon a considerable number of shadow demon wolves. In this way, It is also easy to deal with the vampires of a certain scale in the vampire castle. But, before that, I need to meet Zilur. And we need to build the corresponding phase springboards along the way. In this way, we can bring Zilur here quietly. Otherwise, with the difficult to conceal characteristics of the Steam Knight, I'm afraid that people will fly in front and billions of bats will chase behind. At the same time, Tucker thought for a while. My sequence ecological bearing capacity has been vacant for a lot. I should also learn some new witchcraft. Well, it's new witchcraft to deal with blood clans. About half a day later, after confirming that the blood clan Alandia, who was not very strong, did not have the courage to rebel, Tucker then passed through in a phase. After selecting 5 lucky blood clans again and executing them in public, under the terrified eyes of many blood clan sheep, Tucker passed through again in a phase. Using the barrier ceremony, Tucker began to construct the wall chamber space near the phase node located before, and prepared a safe springboard for his phase travel. Although this will be more time-consuming. But this method can provide Tucker with extremely high security protection. Relying on the phase walking magic power, randomly shuttling in this underground world will only be like a headless fly flying around, which is completely irresponsible for his own life. Moreover, in the complex ecological environment, it is not easy for Tucker to distinguish whether the landing position is safe. What if he directly confronts some blood clans and werewolf strongmen? That's not good. Moreover, although the phase walking ability is powerful, it is not without restraint. And this is why Tucker slowly explored it himself and left the phase coordinate point. Tucker explored the location by himself and did not run around, which can ensure safety. Then use the barrier ritual to build a barrier foothold inside the wall, which will be absolutely safe. Whether it is to attack the Blood Clan castle this time and disrupt the Blood Clan's plan to invade St. Rand, or to help the Baggins family take back the treasure next, Tucker can put himself in a situation where he can advance and retreat, instead of making a desperate journey with no return. In the development of St. Rand, one word must be emphasized: stable. Chapter 157 Professional Counterpart Restrained. In the office on Lamore Street. Zilur rubbed his brows after exhaling a little. During this period, many Blood Clan sequences or werewolf sequences appeared on Lamore Street. Although some sheriffs came here to maintain law and order. But every once in a while, there would always be some Blood Clan or werewolf murders. Among them, the rampage at Blood Clan was more serious. At this time, the drawbacks of being a big city were highlighted. You can't kill all the Blood Clan sequence and Wolf Clan sequence supernatural beings with one stick. In the more ancient Dark Ages, Blood Clan, werewolf. These are all forbidden foreign powers. Once caught, they would be the protagonists of the large bonfire barbecue party held in the center of the town. But in the steamed supernatural era where the supernatural sequence is quite developed, Blood Clan sequence and werewolf sequence are allowed to a certain extent. But this has also brought a lot of trouble to St. Land recently. When Zilur was planning to deal with these documents further, a piece of paper suddenly appeared in front of her. And he just barged in right in front of her. With a slight tremor in her heart, Zilur vaguely sensed something. She brushed her palm over the note without leaving a trace, put it into the storage bracelet, and then continued working as usual. 2 hours later, Zilur finished her work for the day. She got up and walked towards her residence. An hour and a half later. Blue Whale Cafe, 2nd floor. Zilur, who had changed into an ordinary female blue and white plaid short skirt dress and a curled black butterfly lady's hat, sat quietly in a small private room near the glass. The long blue curly hair with a very personal personality was also wrapped in the hat. It is difficult to compare her with the heroic female steam knight who can overturn a steam train with one hand. The note that Zilur got before had the name of this cafe on it. The note was simple, but the magical method showed that the extraordinary person who conveyed this information was not simple. A few days ago, news came from the Black River Valley that the blasphemer Tucker was haunting there. According to the information she got from the 2 vice presidents of the Silver Crossbow Holy Emblem Demon Hunter Guild to St. Land, Tucker seemed to have some ability to deliver energy and matter. The method was exactly the same as the note she saw today. She had thought that Tucker might contact her. But she didn't think it would happen so soon. Looking through the glass at the bright streets outside under the light of the furnace core fire, Zilur felt a flash in front of her eyes. A burly wizard wearing an old wizard robe, who looked more like a knight than a wizard, appeared in front of Zilur and sat down steadily. Zillur took a deep breath and looked at the other party carefully. Andre. You can call me that because it's safer. The person who came was Tucker disguised as Andre Lamore. Looking at this person who had clearly seen him before, but was strange and familiar. For a moment, Zillur was a little dazed. I need your help. Tucker said directly to the point. There is a vampire castle that I can't take down by myself. After a brief trance, Zillur quickly gathered her thoughts. She pondered for a few seconds and quickly responded. The vampire castle is very powerful, and there are earls guarding it. Even if I join them, I can't take it down. Obviously, Zillur knows more about the vampire castle than Tucker. The Earl of the vampire castle in that place will leave the vampire castle during the blood tide period in a few days. Tucker explained slowly. Are you sure? Zillur frowned slightly. It is likely to be certain. Tucker nodded. After all, the guy who gave me the intelligence information didn't bother to use his head to provoke my steam revolver. By then, there will be no Earl in the vampire castle, only 3 4th-level Viscounts. One of these 3 Viscounts will most likely rebel. This is a rare opportunity. Tucker said slowly. After thinking for a while, even Zillur couldn't help but nod slightly. Indeed. This is not only a good opportunity, but also an opportunity to severely criticize the vampires. Zillur slowly began to talk. These days, the werewolves in the totem temple of the Dark Sun Church have been restrained by the demon hunters. And here in the vampire temple, because of the large number of bats and the blood tide that built the vampire castle ecosystem, St. Lander doesn't have many means to deal with those vampires. No one can easily deal with those very difficult vampire castles. This makes those vampires more unscrupulous. So much so that in St. Lander, some vampires dare to kill people secretly. If we can go deep into the vampire ecology and destroy a vampire castle, it will definitely bring enough shock and deterrence to those vampires. They will be more cautious. This way, we can have more time to grow. Instead of getting involved in this war as soon as possible. Tucker couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Tucker really didn't think so much. Tucker just wanted to plunder the resources inside and find some resources to lay the foundation for his magical hut. By the way, fight with a strong blood clan, experience the opponent's strength and means, etc. This will also prepare for the next war of treasure journey. As St. Lander, Zillur has certain rights and superior perspectives. He can see more things. He can also see the extraordinary significance of this battle. After discussing some details, Tucker spoke again. I need to expand my witchcraft. Do you have rune witchcraft level witchcraft in your channel? Tucker's words made Zillur pause. She looked at Tucker with her bright eyes and asked subconsciously. You have realized the mystery of runes. Yet, Tucker did not hide it. Tucker's words made Zillur's bright eyes shine. Tucker's level is only the 2nd level, and what she saw is level 23. The specific level may not be this level, but the level is definitely not high. And she, a top genius of Lamore with A-level steam talent. Not to mention the 2nd level, even if she is now the 3rd level 32. Following the rune shield secret book that she has mastered now, she practiced a night breathing method, but she couldn't find any trace of the rune shield secrets. Not to mention the rune secret that explains the essence of nature, which is very difficult. You know, the rune shield secret is much easier to comprehend than the nature rune secret. Those who can directly comprehend the nature rune secret are definitely monster-level existences. Obviously. The blasphemer Tucker in front of him is such a super genius with amazing talent. While thinking, Zillur said slowly. 3-star rune-level witchcraft is rare. Even the exchanges of higher-level supernaturals in the black market will not have such things. Only those large chambers of commerce that run through the entire Principality of Syrian, through steam rails and steam airships, have such things. But, this level of transactions is not something we can easily access. 2-star witchcraft, we have some in the stone tower of Lamore Street. If you want to have a better performance in the next battle with the Blood Clan, there is a witchcraft that is more suitable for you. Suitable for my witchcraft. Tucker raised his eyebrows. What witchcraft? 2-star light witchcraft, holy light healing. Zillur said carefully. Holy light healing, this is obviously a priest's spell. But this is for the filthy creatures of the dark system. Whether it is the Blood Clan or the werewolf, or even for the Blood Clan castle ecology built by the Blood Clan. This holy light healing is undoubtedly a professional counterpart restrained. For Tucker, There is no underlying construction of the basic priest ecology such as the priest's echo, source and recovery. The healing effect of holy light healing will not be very good. However, as a person who possesses the secret of a ring of light runes, Tucker, who is shrouded in Tucker's Steam Wizard sequence tree, can definitely bring out the power of light of holy light healing to the fullest. Tucker's spear of light shaping has the blessing of a ring of light runes, which has undergone a significant qualitative change compared to the past. As a 2-star holy light healing, the effect will not be much weaker. Moreover, as a wizard, there must be more types of means. Holy light healing can also fill Tucker's small shortcomings. When encountering injured teammates, you can use holy light healing to help. When encountering injured enemies, you can also help yourself and torture yourself. After thinking about it and confirming that this method is indeed more suitable for him, Tucker nodded in agreement. After discussing many details of this trip with Zalur, as well as matters such as holy light healing, Tucker stood up and prepared to leave. Tucker's eyes stayed on Zalur for a moment, and then Tucker suddenly remembered something. This is my magic fireplace card. If you have any problem, just contact me using a magic letter. Be prepared, the next trip to the vampire castle will be a bloody battle. After taking the card, Zalur examined it for a moment, and when he looked up again, Tucker had disappeared. Chapter 158 Holy Light, Blood Curtain. Supernatural Sequence, Steam, Wizard, Level 26. Dark Sea of Origin, Level 26. Supernatural Powers, Phase Walking, 665 Fragments, Level 29. Heart of Fire, 500 Fragments, Level 29. Supernatural Talents, Precision, Correction, SSS Level 1050%. Steam, Origin Spiritual State, SSS Level 1650%. Supernatural Witchcraft Ability, Sheep Transformation, Ability, Level 29. Touch Perception, Ability, Level 29. Rune, Hand of Spiritual Movement, 3 stars, Level 29. Rune, Hurricane Hold, 3 stars, Level 29. Spear of Light Shaping, 2 stars, Level 29. Holy Light Healing, 2 stars, Level 29. Arcane Shot, Level 29. Abyss, Bloodthirsty Demon Vine, Level 29. Dragon Origin Scaled Shield, Level 29. Nightmare Oil Bomb, Level 29. Micro, Hurricane, Level 29. During this period, Tucker's Heart of Flame reached 500 fragments through his own efforts. Just like the previous phase walk did not change qualitatively. The Heart of Flame reached 500 fragments and there was no qualitative change. However, with the increase in the number of fragments, Tucker's ability to fit with the flame and the speed of his perception of the mysteries of the fire rune also increased. 1 fragment, 1 improvement. The effect is simple, direct and stable. The level of the 2-star Holy Light Healing technique has been raised to level 29. In the past few days, as Tucker explored the Holy Light Healing technique, combined with his own methods, Tucker really developed some different uses for this Holy Light Healing technique. As for the actual combat effect, you will know it later. Today is the day for the blood ecology to trigger the blood tide. At this time, the sound of the blood tide has sounded. Tucker didn't know if others heard it. Anyway, Tucker heard it clearly. Hoo-la-la. The thick and heavy sea of blood rushed endlessly. It was as if the power of the netherworld was rolling in the depths of hell. The Blood Clan used their Blood Clan castle to absorb a large amount of Blood Sea energy in this Blood Sea wave, and then expanded the Blood Clan ecology. With a surge of blood tide, the air was filled with a strong smell of blood. The blood-sucking bats outside were flying in the air at this time, absorbing the blood source energy brought by the blood tide at a rapid speed. Every time the blood tide surged, it was a carnival for the Blood Clan and the blood-sucking bats. At this time, in a small stone room opened in the stone wall not far from the Blood Clan castle, Tucker in the shadow state was examining the outline of the Blood Clan castle through phase vision plus precise vision. The Blood Clan castle is like a high tower, an extremely solid independent ecology. If Tucker is closer, he can naturally rely on his powerful vision to see many things. But when he is far away, Tucker can only see a hazy blood shadow outline. However, if the powerful Blood Clan inside comes out, Tucker will definitely find it at the first time. In fact, the blood tide has been surging for half a day. No powerful vampires flew out of the vampire castle. Tucker was not in a hurry anyway, so he just waited quietly. Anyway, today, either the intelligence is correct, the vampire count of the vampire castle will come out, and then his vampire wife will die. Or, the intelligence is wrong, the vampire count will not come out, and the vampire Baron Alandia who was left by Tucker will die. One of the two sides will die, and today Tucker can't let these vampires win. In Tucker's patient waiting, several hours passed again. Under the vision of Tucker's face vision plus precise vision, 7 or 8 vampire bats with a level of more than 4, led by a 5-level bat, quickly flew away from the vampire castle. Seeing this, Tucker's mouth outlined a little smile. Sure enough, the 5th-level vampire count came out. But Tucker did not act rashly, but continued to wait. Just as Tucker expected. About 2 hours later, the 5th-level vampire returned again with his 4th-level vampire subordinates. Just as Alandia said, this vampire Earl is very cautious and suspicious. Not long after, the 5th-level vampire Earl, with his many 4th-level vampire subordinates, flew away from the castle again. Tucker waited for more than 2 hours and confirmed that the vampire Earl had really left this time. Tucker then let out a long sigh. Not only did the vampire Earl leave himself, he also took away quite a number of 4th-level viscounts. This further reduced the strength of the vampire castle. The long wait ushered in the perfect opportunity. The dark and quiet prayer church. This is the place to pray to the great ancestor of the vampires. The night of the blood tide. The large blood light outline in the church was diffused and blooming in the prayer church. Several vampire servants were doing daily cleaning work. These working vampire servants occasionally took a sneak peek at the huge prayer mirror in the prayer church. Inside the prayer mirror was a blood pool built by Count Leonard Moore, the owner of the great vampire castle. In the entire vampire castle, only Lord Count Leonard Moore and the 3 viscountesses can enter. Anyone else who enters rashly will inevitably become part of the blood pool. Besides, ordinary vampires cannot enter. The prayer mirror is said to be an independent sealed area. Only Lord Leonard Moore can open it. If I can go to the blood pool and take a few more sips of the rich blood, maybe I can be promoted to the 2nd level. Lord Count said that as long as I work hard, he can be promoted to the 6th level more easily, and even become a powerful Marcus. Then, I can move to a bigger church and wipe those brighter benches. The young vampire who had finished wiping the clean bench sat on the bench, looking at the prayer mirror, and entered the wonderful fantasy moment after work. What a beautiful day. At this moment, a slightly weird voice sounded behind him. Is this the prayer hall of the castle? Yes, that's right. In front is the prayer mirror world, where Count Leonard's blood pool is nurtured. The young vampire subconsciously turned his head to look. He saw that 3 silhouettes filled with bloodlight had entered the prayer hall at some point. The one on the left was a fully armed knight in silver armor with golden patterns. The one in the middle was a mysterious transcendent in a shadow state. The one on the right was, human? The next moment, the young vampire's pupils dilated instantly, and his brain was even more excited and roaring. Human. Humans came to the prayer church of the vampires. This is blasphemy. This is invasion. Invasion, invasion. There is a human invasion. The young vampire wailed and rushed to the blood bell on the side of the church platform. He pulled the blood bell with all his strength. Ling, ling, ling. The clear and penetrating bell sounded in the vampire church, creating waves of blood-colored ripples that filled the entire vampire castle. For a moment, the entire castle was agitated and responded. In the prayer hall, hiss. A blood clan that was obviously confused smelled human blood and rushed towards Zalor without knowing whether to live or die. When it was 7 or 8 meters away from Zalor, Zalor punched out. With a roar of steam, the head of the 12th level blood clan exploded directly. Steam punching is also one of her few attack methods that is slightly longer. Stepping on the long bell of blood, Tucker came to the prayer mirror sparkling with blood. There is a certain power of the sealing barrier, but not much. More of it is the power of the blood clan and the dark sun. Looking at the prayer mirror sparkling with blood, Tucker, who was about to cast a spell, suddenly looked at Alandia on the side. I almost forgot about you. Tucker moved his fingers. Alandia, who had no ability to struggle and resist, was quickly pulled to the top of the church by an invisible force. Now, Tucker can use puppet silk threads to a certain extent. Then Tucker quickly chanted the 2-star witchcraft holy light healing. The source energy started from Tucker's steam wizard sequence and went through the first round of blessing of the light mystery ring. Then it entered Tucker's light blazing bracelet and went through the second round of blessing of light power. Under the guidance of the witchcraft power, The two-starlight witchcraft holy light healing itself has a very strong power. Like a torrent of light columns. Boom. It poured fiercely into the prayer mirror. Light. Like a steel needle, it fiercely tore open the curtain of blood. In an instant, the entire Blood Clan church, and even the entire Blood Clan castle, seemed to wail and twist. Chapter 159 Mirror Blood Pool. The light was like a torrent, rushing into the prayer mirror. Layers of blood-red ripples and waves, with the light's entry point as the center, surged in all directions like waves. Even the aftermath escaped from the prayer mirror to the outside, and the wooden frame and walls that supported the outline of the prayer realm were directly shaken and collapsed. Holy light healing. Tucker greatly enhanced his holy light ability through scientific research. In addition, Tucker himself has the power of the angel sequence and has condensed a ring of light runes. At this time, he used the light blazing bracelet to perform it. The two-star holy light healing has become a thick light like a well, and the light is like substance and hot like fire. If it were just that, it would not be considered a powerful means. But the problem lies in Tucker's extraordinary talent of 1650% steam in origin spiritual state. Tucker can make the spell last longer through a large amount of source energy supply. Holy light healing is a means of sending down holy light to heal the wounded. Under Tucker's magic modification and strengthening, and with the power of the steam sequence activated by Tucker at this moment, a large amount of steam source can be poured into it. It turns into continuous burning holy light. In other words, as long as Tucker is near this spell, the burning of holy light will continue. The SSS level steam origin spiritual state has greatly changed Tucker's use of many witchcrafts. As the holy light continues to pour into the prayer mirror, the range of the holy light is constantly expanding, dispersing the surrounding mirror blood curtain. The true face of the prayer realm also emerges. This is a strange mirror leading to the Sliver domain. What is this? Sliver, who obviously does not have much knowledge of extraordinary mysticism, stood beside Tucker and asked curiously. The blood pool layer domain of the mirror Sliver, scientifically known as the mirror blood pool, is a very good thing. Tucker examined the huge mirror glass and said slowly, "Are we going there later?" Faintly, Sliver had already seen the blood pool with a large outline and the blood pool sequence tree in the mirror. That was the entire family of a 59th level vampire who had been promoted to the 6th level vampire. No. Tucker smiled. When we break this mirror, the things inside will come out by themselves. In other words, they are not inside what you see. In fact, they are right next to us. Tucker's ambiguous words made Sliver tighten her grip on her heavy sword. She didn't quite understand the strange words of a wizard like Tucker. But she could feel that the danger was getting closer. The enemy. Or rather, the three castle mistresses were coming. Bang! 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 The glass of the three high windows burst. Three huge blood bats rushed in. As soon as they came in, the three huge blood bats set their sights on the prayer mirror with a burning holy light. The heavy holy light was so vast and rich. As soon as they came in, they felt a burning pain on their bat-like skin. The three vampire viscountesses immediately fell down and condensed into vampire human forms. In human form, their ecological outlines were more complete and their resistance was stronger. But their skin still felt a slight tingling sensation. Rune breath. Burning holy light. There was even a little bit of angel breath that made them tremble. For the vampires. Angel sequence, a terrifying and indescribable sequence that would melt if you looked at it for a second longer and explode if you stayed for a second longer. But even so, they had to stop the other party from destroying the blood pool holy tree. Otherwise, after the twisted, ugly, evil and cruel guy Leonard Moore came back, they would be tortured for at least half a month, no, more than a month. Even under heavy punishment, they would become part of the blood pool. Before them, two viscountesses had been swallowed by the blood pool. Before the three vampire ladies could take action, a cry for help came from the sky above the church. Devlin, save me, save me. Alan in the sky was being baked by Tucker's holy light. The epidermis had been burned through, and even the body began to heat up rapidly. The youngest of the three vampire ladies, Lady Devlin, who looked only 17 or 18 years old, suddenly raised her head. After examining for a moment, she confirmed that it was Alandia. Without any hesitation, she instantly turned into Bloodbat and flew to the crossbar above the church, saving the hanging Alandia. Seeing Alandia so injured, she did not hesitate to bite her own finger and feed Alandia blood. After recovering a little, Alandia quickly said, "Devlin, Don't fight with those two humans. Believe me, that wizard is not a human, he is a demon, and their methods and strength are very terrifying. Fighting with them will definitely not end well. Without Alan saying anything, Devlin had already felt it. The two human transcendents are both steam sequences. Especially the wizard, who possesses an extremely amazing light power. Seeing that Devlin was still a little hesitant, Alan Dia directly used his ultimate move. Earl Leonard Moore already knows about us. The reason why he didn't kill us is that he wants to use your vampire talent to help him advance to the 6th level. Once the 6th level is achieved, both you and I will die in his hands. Now, we have a chance to escape from here, to escape from all this. Help the human wizard and kill those two lackeys. This is our only chance to survive. As expected, Alan Dia's explanation made Devlin's face uncertain. At this moment, a sinister voice came from below. Devlin, have you finished reminiscing with your little lover? If you have, then get down here as soon as possible. Devlin, who had restrained her expression, fell lightly from above. Little bitch, hurry up and get on with me. The gorgeously dressed chief vampire lady Isabel stared at Devlin and scolded her sharply. At this critical moment, the chief vampire lady was like this, so you can imagine what kind of treatment she would be treated in normal times. Yes, Devlin said obediently as always with her head down. When Devlin passed by the chief vampire lady, a silver light burst out from Devlin's hand, and then poured into Isabel's abdomen fiercely. Even, the silver light went straight from her abdomen to her back, and Isabel's back was blasted with blood. Hiss. The sharp and piercing hissing sound instantly swept the entire vampire hall. The chief vampire lady Isabel retreated more than 10 meters. Rumble smashed a large area of clean and tidy benches. She covered her abdomen, and pain and distortion quickly climbed up her face. Despicable little bitch. How dare you sneak attack me? In the sharp roar, her body began to expand rapidly, and the vampire extraordinary form emerged to fight against the injury of the sneak attack. Isabel, how about this mithril original liquid? This is specially prepared for you. Devlin, who had been humble and submissive, raised her head, looked at Elizabeth coldly, and also began to become a vampire extraordinary. The corners of her eyes outlined a sharp arc, her skin began to harden, her figure gradually became taller, her face was fierce and violent, and she was in the extraordinary state of the vampire. At this time, Isabel, who was attacked, was also furious and condensed to complete her extraordinary form. She was even taller than Devlin, almost 3 meters tall. However, a blood hole was clearly visible in her abdomen. Obviously, the chief lady was seriously injured after being attacked by the so-called mithril fluid. The two vampires in the extraordinary state screamed sharply and collided with each other. Then they wrestled together crazily. The surrounding benches were smashed by the attacks of the two people, and the debris flew everywhere. Even a bench leg flew to Tucker's side. But it was blocked by Tucker's shield. Tucker couldn't help but secretly applaud when watching this drama between women. Very good, please continue your performance. If you fight for a while longer, I will be able to smash the prayer mirror without any damage. As Isabel emerged into the extraordinary state, large patches of blood mist began to emerge around her and were constantly absorbed into her body. This greatly enhanced her life strength, defense ability, and attack power. This is a unique blessing of the Blood Clan Castle. Just like the blessing of wizards in their own Steam Castle ecology. On the other hand, Devlin did not have this situation. Because she knew that she was not given the blessing of the Blood Clan Castle by the Earl, this was also part of Devlin's rebellion. As the fight continued, Devlin was obviously at a disadvantage. At the same time, Agnes, the second lady of the Blood Clan, also showed the extraordinary form of the Blood Clan without regard for her face. The two of them joined forces and began to attack Devlin, madly output and beat her. Seeing this scene, Zillur on the side glanced at Tucker and asked, "Can you defend the light column?" Tucker paused and glanced at the light column. "Does this thing need to be defended? Don't they all think that I'm continuously casting spells without being able to move?" "Yes, I can defend it." Since Zillur asked, Tucker naturally had to respond. As Tucker's voice fell, Zillur took a step, and a roar sounded. Woo woo. Zillur, who was surrounded by steam, directly joined the battle. Suddenly, the four women fought fiercely. The entire vampire hall has completely become a battlefield. The ground, tables, chairs, benches, and even the walls are constantly under the attack of various extraordinary means. Outside the castle, The magic wolves also fought with the influx of vampire guards. Just as Tucker was examining this battle, a palm with sharp vampire nails quietly appeared behind Tucker, and the direction it was aimed at was Tucker's heart. Then, this palm was like a sharp blade piercing through fine iron, and it instantly poured into it. Chapter 160, Blowing from the spirit world into reality. Old Burton has removed many vampire hearts. Even some powerful vampire hearts will be collected by Old Burton after being removed, and then they will be enjoyed during festivals. When he was young, Old Burton also ate a lot of human hearts, even the hearts of some human geniuses. However, he has never eaten the heart of a top human genius. And today, the opportunity came. Just yesterday, his son, Earl Leonard Moore, knocked on his coffin. He said that there might be enemies invading the castle today, so he asked him to guard the castle for a day or two. Although he is very old, his level has dropped from level 66 to level 41. But he is still the Earl. With the blessing of the vampire castle, it is not something that ordinary human extraordinary people can contend with. While waiting in the mirror blood pool, he saw two young and thriving life forms. Especially the female knight, the power of the heart-pumping blood was like a drum. That was a young voice that made him envious. But in terms of deliciousness, there is no doubt that the human wizard is better. Moreover, that stupid and arrogant human wizard just turned his back to the prior mirror. He didn't even need much strength. Just a light poke, and a delicious heart feast could be served on a plate. In fact, that's what Old Burton did. Containing the precise skills like a scalpel, it was enough to cut through the sharp power of the plate armor. It poured into the shadow. Even if the opponent was in the shadow state, he was enough to remove the opponent's shadow heart in the shadow state, and when he took it out, it would automatically appear as a flesh and blood heart. However, this time, Old Burton didn't feel the familiar feeling of the heart beating in his hand. He seemed to be cutting in the air. At the same time as he cut, the wizard just ran away. The precise grasp of the timing made him, a veteran who had lived for hundreds of years, stunned. Is this a coincidence? Or, in addition to cutting in the air, he even felt that his arm was pinched. No, his arm was really pinched. What kind of trick is this? Just as Old Burton was horrified, the huge dark golden hand that suddenly appeared and pinched his arm had already transmitted a terrifying and amazing force. No. Old Burton tried his best to fight it. But how could that old bone fight against Tucker's spiritual hand with 4 ring soul runes? Accompanied by the sound of broken mirror glass, Old Burton in the prior mirror was dragged out by Tucker's spiritual hand. This scene also stunned Tucker. Originally, Tucker just wanted to break the sneak attack arm. Anyway, this old guy was in the prior mirror world and he couldn't run away. Unexpectedly, he actually pulled this old blood clan out directly. Tucker's eyes condensed slightly. Since it's pulled out, let's die directly outside. Just as Old Burton was horrified, the terrifying palm had already dragged him quickly towards the dense light column. The holy light that contained the mysteries of light was definitely not something that an old vampire like him, who had not comprehended the mysteries, could contend with. Once he was dragged in, he would die in a few breaths. He was too old and could no longer withstand the baptism of the holy light. With a sudden thought in his mind, the old vampire's body burst into bloodlight and exploded into a blood mist with a bang. A large group of bats flew away in all directions. With a fierce crush of the hand of spiritual movement, the bats that were transformed in the palm of the hand were directly turned into blood mud. When the old vampire, who was gathering a large number of bats in the distance, emerged, he had already lost an arm. What a cruel wizard! Feeling the pain that penetrated deep into his bones, the old vampire's body was also covered with a large amount of blood mist that quickly gathered, which was more and thicker than Isabel's before. Old Burton, who was about to take the next step, noticed it and flashed. Bang! A huge palm slapped down and crushed the ground where it was originally located. Then, the spiritual hand, which was as big as half a door panel, shot down one after another. Tucker's spiritual hand was as big as 2 doors before. Now with the blessing of the 4-ring soul rune mystery, Tucker can condense the spiritual hand into the size of half a door. Although the outline of the palm has shrunk, the attack power has not shrunk but has increased a lot. And the control is more flexible. The spiritual hand, every time it falls, it is the position of the old blood clan. And the old Burton, who has the blessing of the blood pool of the blood clan castle, pulls out a large afterimage while moving his body. Tucker's spiritual hand keeps missing. These powerful old blood clans have condensed the extraordinary state and have a high degree of perception of the spiritual world itself. It's a bit difficult for the spiritual hand to hit the opponent. This old thing that has lived for hundreds of years is really difficult to deal with. With this in mind, Tucker manipulated the spiritual hand to escape into the spiritual world, and then shot an arcane shot at the blood clan. The spiritual hand is almost not blessed by the precise talent. But arcane shooting is different. Boom! With the sound of arcane shooting, a flash of blood bloomed on the forehead of the old vampire who had just landed. But in the blink of an eye, the wound was offset by the vampire's natural strong recovery characteristics and the blood mist it absorbed. Not all witchcraft methods can be avoided. Seeing this scene, Tucker fumbled with his palm slightly. "Young wizard, is this all you can do?" Feeling the gradually recovering body, the rough and old voice of the old vampire slowly sounded. Facing the provocative words of the old vampire, Tucker simply ignored it. The steam source energy enveloped his arm, and the arcane shooting was charged again. Boom! With the sound of gunfire, another flash of blood bloomed. This time it was the old vampire's eye socket that exploded. But the old vampire in the supernormal state has no so-called physical weaknesses at all. The supernormal state naturally has supernormal vision, and the damage on the physical level does not affect the essence of its supernormal life form. Unlike the three young vampire viscounts, their extraordinary state will stretch the original form outline. The extraordinary state is more like an extraordinary vampire monster. As for the old vampire, he himself is a stable extraordinary state. At the same time as Tucker's consecutive arcane shots fell, the old vampire also completed the spell. The blood sea waves on Tucker's left and right sides rolled up more than 10 meters high in an instant. It was as if the huge waves rolled out from the depths of the nether blood sea. There were dense whispers, murmurs, wails, roars, and echoes from the deep sea. The sound alone contained the power to tear the soul apart. For a while, Tucker's soul was trembling slightly. But Tucker's steam wizard ecology is strong enough, plus the 4-ring soul rune sounds. The sound from the nether blood sea has an effect on Tucker, but not much. There is actually a suppression of the layer domain, and I can't break free even with my shadow travel. Tisk tisk. This old vampire really has many methods. Encountering such a strong opponent, Tucker is more and more curious about what kind of powerful methods the other party has. In the extraordinary world, various methods emerge in an endless stream. Encountering it earlier, you are already prepared. It is better than encountering it before death. The shock of the soul level and the suppression of the reality layer, under the dual effect. Rumble. The blood-colored wave submerged Tucker in it. When the netherworld huge waves disappeared, Tucker's figure was no longer visible. After looking around and feeling it carefully, the old vampire laughed softly. After all, you are young. This netherworld blood sea is not something that a simple shield can withstand. It's a pity that such a good heart. Fortunately, there is still one. No, two. Just as the old vampire was about to look at the 4 women who were fighting fiercely, a neutral voice sounded in a faint corner beside him. What kind of trick is this? The old blood clan's body stiffened slightly. He slowly turned around and looked at the shadows on the side. He saw that the young wizard with a low level, surrounded by a slight steam wave and roar, walked out in the form of a shadow. Looking at the wizard in front of him, old Burton's blood-red eyes were unprecedentedly solemn, cautious, and careful. This young wizard may not be the most powerful wizard he has ever met, but it is definitely the most incredible existence of this level. Why don't you tell me how you got out first, and I will tell you what trick is this. Old Burton looked at the young human wizard and said slowly. Well, Tucker thought for a while before speaking seriously. I used some powerful tricks to slightly open the layer suppression, and then I came out. The old blood clan smiled indifferently. I just used powerful tricks to slightly trigger the power of the netherworld blood sea. He said something, but it seemed like he didn't say anything. Originally, I was going to play with you for a while. Tucker glanced at the door from the corner of his eye. But, it's time to end it. Outside, the wolf pack was fighting with a large number of vampires, and although many vampires were killed, most of the wolf pack had been killed or injured, and the vampires began to gain the upper hand. Tucker still had too few people after all. Inside the church, although Xyluer could still hold on, Defulin, who was not blessed by the vampire castle, had been suppressed by Isabel, who was blessed by the vampire castle. If the fight continued like this, I'm afraid Tucker would be the loser. However, After spending so much time, Tucker used steam source energy to pile up a hurricane, which was enough. Wind, as Tucker chanted in a low voice. The rune syllables containing wind in the ancient spell burst into bloom. Woo woo woo. It was just a howling gale at the beginning. Then, the amazing hurricane had swept across the entire vampire church. Then, the violent hurricane containing the power of runes came crashing down. Tucker cast a 3-star powerful rune witchcraft in the spirit world that could change the ecological environment, the rune, Hurricane Support. For the first time, it blew violently from the spirit world into reality. The power of this hurricane containing the power of runes was so violent that the entire vampire church was about to be overturned. The already broken tables, chairs and benches were directly crushed in the hurricane. The rune hurricane showed its long-standing violent and terrifying side at this moment. It tore the vampires, the church and the whole world wantonly. Chapter 161 The Fall of the Blood Clan. Compared to rune, Hand of Spirit Walking, rune, Hurricane Holding is a sorcery that needs time to accumulate and settle. After it grows up, its power will be more powerful and more destructive. Before, when Tucker cast rune, Hurricane Holding, he could only present it in the form of a small wind blade, a micro-hurricane, or means such as matching wind and waves. If you want to really bring out the power of rune, Hurricane Holding, it will take a long time for the hurricane to grow. But around the battle scene, as long as others are not fools, they will definitely be able to feel it and can use their means to destroy the hurricane that has not grown up. It takes a long time to grow, and this is also the disadvantage of rune, Hurricane Holding, a powerful rune spell. But, as Tucker condensed the powerful 4-ring wind mystery, Tucker found that he could set the starting point and anchor point of the hurricane in the spiritual realm. Let it grow in the spiritual realm. After it takes shape, use his phase ability and the means of the mystery of wind to let the hurricane blow into reality. Tucker had only tried it a little before, and the effect was really good. Today, Tucker's steam sequence was fully opened, and a large amount of source energy steam was poured into the hurricane. At this time, the hurricane was fed to the extreme, and the power was also amazing. Woo 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 woo. The violent hurricane swept the entire Blood Clan church. For a time, both humans and Blood Clans gave up fighting and tried their best to resist the terrifying wind and waves. Even Xylur, who was born with the ability to fight and resist, inserted the heavy sword into the ground fiercely and held up the shield to block the violent hurricane, otherwise she would be blown away. And those Blood Clans could only rely on the huge stone pillars in the church to block the terrifying hurricane. Even so, the wood chips that rotated at high speed with the hurricane could also pose a certain threat to them. After all, the wind and waves at this time contained the powerful wind rune mystery. The power of the rune mystery. Not to mention them, even for the Blood Clan Earl, the owner of the castle, it was extremely difficult to comprehend. As the hurricane swept violently, Old Burton clearly felt that something was wrong with the hurricane. It was not that the hurricane contained the power of the wind rune mysteries, but there were some other powers. Some powers that could directly penetrate into the wind and waves and control them. At this time, Tucker, who controlled the mysteries of the wind, was not affected by the hurricane at all. Not good. Old Burton, who was about to take action, became alert. A terrifying power was about to descend on the spiritual world. With one step, he entered the hurricane wave directly. Bang! The stone pillar as thick as a stone roller where he was located was smashed by Tucker's spiritual hand, which was half the size of a door. With the collapse of this stone pillar, the whole church shook suddenly. Is this church going to collapse? Everyone was shocked. Old Burton, who was following the wind and waves, had already noticed that something was wrong. He tried his best to fly out. But there were a lot of strange forces in the wind and waves that dragged him and prevented him from flying out. That feeling was like the control of the puppeteer's silk thread. Old Burton, who was looking for an opportunity to escape, felt the pressure from the power of the spirit world again. He was about to use the blood escape method unique to the Blood Clan to fly quickly. But those strange pulling forces directly dragged him. Not good. Old Burton was horrified, and his eyes burst into blood. Boom. The terrifying power of the hand of spiritual movement pressed hard on Old Burton's body. The hand of spiritual movement came from the dimension of the spirit world, and this palm was even more suppressed by the power of the layer domain. Although it was only slapped on one side of his body, the power of the layer domain stacking made Old Burton feel that his extraordinary body was about to be crushed. When Old Burton thought that the power of this attack was over and he could take a breath, Buzz! The power that made old Burton's blood and soul tremble emerged from the hand of spiritual movement. The mystery of the soul, it is the mystery of the soul. He also mastered a very terrifying mystery of the soul. If the opponent only used ordinary witchcraft attacks, although it could severely damage his body, it would be difficult to annihilate his extraordinary state. In other words, it was impossible for the opponent to kill him with just 1 or 2 spells. The opponent needed a large number of spells to wear him down repeatedly before he could be killed. But at this time, the opponent had realized the profound soul rune mystery, and it was different. The power of the rune mystery naturally restrained the extraordinary state. No. Accompanied by a shrill roar. The spiritual hand closed suddenly, and this time it was not just grabbing an arm like before. It was the Old Blood Clan's half-body and his blood soul. Bang! The Old Blood Clan was directly crushed by Tucker's spiritual hand. The blood mist exploded and bloomed, instantly dyeing a large area of wind and waves red. And the scene was naturally seen clearly by the other 3 Blood Clan ladies. Although Devlin was frightened, she was fine. The other 2 Blood Clan ladies were already scared to death. Run! The 2 Blood Clan ladies did not hesitate at all, and immediately quickly entered the violent hurricane and wanted to escape. But as soon as they entered the hurricane, they were dragged by the strange and powerful force. No matter what, they could not fly out. Even the more powerful old vampires couldn't fly out, let alone the 2 young vampire ladies whose titles were 1 level lower. After 2 shrill screams and wails, the 2 powerful vampire ladies were blown into blood mist one after another and died tragically in Tucker's spiritual hands. After feeling the violent rune hurricane holder and the wind threads dancing in the wind of the hurricane holder, and confirming that there were no powerful vampires around, Tucker cut off the continuous input of the rune hurricane holder. The combination of wind threads and hurricane hold seems to have a particularly good effect. Otherwise, it would be difficult to control these flexible vampires who can fly with just the hurricane hold. With the wind threads combined with the control of the hurricane hold, plus the powerful spiritual hands, it can effectively restrain and kill these vampires. Wind threads are a method that Tucker comprehended by himself after comprehending the puppet threads. While releasing the rune, hurricane holding witchcraft, Tucker will release a large number of puppet threads made in advance, use the steam spirit state to throw them into the wind and waves, combine with the wind to form wind threads. In this way, Tucker can combine the hurricane and the wind threads to control the enemy very well, and finally kill with the hand of spiritual movement. The effect is good, but more puppet threads are used each time. But this method cannot be used every day. The amount accumulated for a period of time is enough for 2 or 3 times. As the hurricane holding gradually dissipated, the huge church, which was already a little shaky, finally couldn't hold on at this time. Rumble. The cathedral that accommodated hundreds of people collapsed just like that. The airwaves and dust rolled and stirred. Even Tucker had to enlarge the hand of spiritual movement to resist the collapsed bricks, tiles, stones, etc. With the collapse of the cathedral, the burning holy light column that continued to diffuse instantly illuminated the dark world around. At the entrance, a large number of vampires who had just avoided the collapse of the church were illuminated by the burning holy light column. Hissing. 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 For a while, a large number of burning sounds were heard, and the vampire castle instantly turned into a large barbecue scene. Those 4th level Viscounts were able to fight here with the aftermath of the holy light. Those small vampires did not have such strength. Even those bats that were close to each other were ignited on the spot. Under the healing holy light that was as solid as a pillar and as hot as fire. The vampires in the vampire castle began to flee on a large scale. The magic wolves quickly drilled into the shadows around them. Zillur used her strength to prop up the broken stone pillar that hid her, and her armor was somewhat deformed. Zillur was seriously injured. During the whole process, she was fighting against a 4th level Viscount lady with the blessing of the vampire castle alone. Ordinary extraordinary people would have been torn into pieces long ago. And Zillur, without saying a word, resisted the opponent's attack and even fought back, buying Tucker a lot of time and energy. There was a slight movement in the ruins on the other side. I saw that in a place away from light. Devlin dragged Alandia out. What a hard-working couple. Even Tucker couldn't help shaking his head. In this extraordinary world, only strong strength and means can guarantee your safety. When she saw Tucker, Devlin, who was covered in blood and scars, was obviously alert. The horror of the wizard in front of her was beyond her cognition and understanding of wizards. However, Tucker seemed to have not seen the 2 of them at all. Seizing this opportunity, Devlin took Alandia and quickly ran into the darkness on the side and disappeared. Today's battle must be impossible to conceal. Many vampires saw and heard the knights and wizards roaring with steam. The humans and vampires of the Dark Sun Church must have guessed that it was Tucker and Zalor who did it. But Tucker was always in the shadow state. They would not know Tucker's identity in Saintland. As for Zalor, she had never hidden her identity, nor did she need to. Although the church was destroyed by Tucker, most of the buildings in the Blood Clan castle were still there. Following Tucker's orders, the Shadow Wolf leader and the Shadow Wolf soon began to clean up the battlefield in other parts of the castle. Tucker continued to open up the mirror blood pool. Now was the time to harvest the spoils of the entire Blood Clan castle. Chapter 162 Break into the High Council of the Blood Clan. The screams of Blood Clans could be heard from all over the castle. Those Blood Clans who were hiding, those who wanted to take advantage of the situation, or those who simply resisted were killed one after another by the sweep of the Shadow Demon Wolves. In the ruins of the Church of the Blood Clan castle, a mirror nearly 10 meters high stood alone, surrounded by devastated broken walls. The strong holy light, which formed a column, poured into the blood pool mirror at a 45-degree angle. At this time, the blood pool mirror had been occupied by 3/4 of the area by the holy light, and the entrance to the blood pool mirror was about to be broken. At this time, Tucker was sitting cross-legged and quietly summarizing the many details of this battle. First of all, the Blood Clans were indeed very powerful in the castle. If the title was high enough, Tucker's general means would not be able to cause effective damage to them. But Tucker used his powerful means that were not of the light system but contained the mysteries of runes. He could still get rid of these Blood Clans. This is also the reason why Tucker did not use light methods in this fight with the Blood Clan, but only used non-light methods. Tucker did not use the Spear of Light, the Light Blazing Bracelet, or even Tucker's own blazing state that can emit light and heat. The only light method he used was the newly acquired Holy Light Healing. Holy Light Healing, the steam source energy invested in continuous use is not much, after all, it is a 2-star witchcraft. But the 3-star Rune Hurricane Sustain consumes more source energy. But the effect is indeed as this 3-star Rune Arcane said. This is a powerful witchcraft that can change the ecological environment. Tucker's eyes swept across the collapsed Blood Clan church around him. Well, physical changes are also changes. At least the vampire ecology of this vampire castle has been destroyed. Fortunately, I open up the Dark Sea of Origin early on, and the depth and width of the Dark Sea of Origin will increase every day. Now, the thickness of my source energy is about 40 to 50 times that of wizards of the same level. This is the only way to support the long-term massive consumption of 3-star powerful witchcraft. Otherwise, with the size of other wizard source pools, if they are forced to support it, the witchcraft will first drain the essence and then the blood source, and finally drain the life. It is said that in the more ancient magic era before the sequence was developed, magicians were often forced to extract the source of life because of insufficient magic power. The current sequence era is much better than the ancient magic era. Just as Tucker was thinking. Crack, crack, crack. The sound of the mirror breaking sounded. When Tucker just looked at the mirror of the prior blood pool. Bang! The entire huge mirror shattered and turned into large pieces of strange glass crystal fragments. Some scattered glass crystal fragments can even clearly see the strange blood-colored ripples reflected in them. As the blood pool mirror shattered, the rich blood gas instantly filled Tucker's nasal cavity. The sticky and bloody smell of blood permeated and penetrated. As Tucker breathed, the blood source energy began to continuously pour into Tucker's body. The strange power gathered by these blood and source energy seemed to have life. Tucker did not look at the mirror position, but turned around and looked at the center of the collapsed ruins of the church. The ruins were originally stretched open, and a blood pool appeared there. The world domain of the mirror layer is overlapping. This is also the extraordinary characteristic of the mirror layer itself. The blood pool tree is about 5 or 6 meters high, with branches and trunks about the thickness of a bowl, lush branches and leaves, and some sequence crystals containing strange Blood Clan abilities. Tucker doesn't care about those strange abilities belonging to the Blood Clan. What Tucker cares about is the blood pool tree. Because this blood pool tree is made of blood crystal material, and can also be regarded as a blood crystal tree. Just as Alan Diaz said before, the flying characteristic inside is very strong. Tucker has reaped a rich harvest from this blood pool tree alone. Not to mention, there is a considerable amount of flying Characteristic blood crystal material reserves in the warehouse of the Blood Clan Earl provided by Alandia. So many materials are more than enough to make a flying magic hut. With the appearance of the blood pool tree, the concentration of the surrounding blood source energy has risen sharply. Not only Tucker absorbs these blood source energies, Zylur also breathes blood source energy. In fact, if there is no strong holy light to illuminate the surrounding area, those bats are afraid that they will turn into torrent and pounce on this blood pool and blood crystal tree to eat up. Although Tucker had previously killed the members of the Dark Sun Church and obtained the method of building a blood pool from their storage bracelets, but compared with this kind of blood pool built by the Blood Clan Earl in the Blood Clan Castle, there is still a big gap. It is better to teach a man how to fish than to give him a fish. Tucker naturally wants to learn this powerful blood pool method as much as possible. When Tucker has mastered the blood pool method, combined with the veins of the Demon King's ecology, Tucker can also build his own unique blood pool ecology in the magic hut. Tucker will certainly not take the initiative to sacrifice the town or a city-state. But when those Dark Sun believers or other members of the Evil God organization are caught, then there is no need to talk to them about morality. Using the most ruthless means to greet them is the greatest forgiveness for them. The Principality of Syrian is a country that believes in gods and has a relatively high civilization sequence inheritance. And the extraordinary world outside. There are many organizations of various forms such as believing in evil spirits, worshipping living sacrifices, building ancestral spirits, serving evil gods, worshipping indescribable existence, etc. With a blood pool, it is also a very good means and method to deal with the enemy's corpse. Tucker's precision correction, phase vision, steam origin spiritual state and other means continue to bloom. After meticulously investigating and summarizing the construction rules and techniques of absorbing this Earl's blood pool, Tucker, who had the experience of building a blood pool before and knew the basic principles of building a blood pool, was able to absorb it very quickly. When Tucker had finished observing the blood pool, he found that Zylur was actually sitting cross-legged next to the blood pool, accompanied by the surging steam. She was actually using the steam to absorb the blood energy in the blood pool. Blood energy is the core reason why the blood race has a long lifespan and a strong recovery ability. If Zylur can absorb and use blood energy, this will have a significant effect on her steam night sequence. After all, the steam sequence itself is a sequence with great potential to be developed. My steam core can absorb the power that matches my angel of light sequence. Zylur can naturally absorb the blood energy that matches the night and infiltrate it into the steam night sequence framework. If it really succeeds. Tucker's eyes narrowed slightly. Perhaps Zylur can find his own way to become a steam knight. Originally, Tucker thought that after he had gained insight into and learned about the blood pool, he would chop down the blood pool tree. But now Zylur was absorbing blood energy in large mouthfuls next to the blood pool tree. Tucker naturally couldn't interrupt Zylur's possible transformation. While thinking, Tucker looked at the veins of the Blood Clan castle that was blooming around the blood pool tree. The Blood Clan ecological veins built by the Blood Clan using the castle were exactly the same as the Dark Sun ecology built by the Dark Sun Church using various city-state strongholds. Many veins were spread to the surrounding ecological environment, absorbing the power from the blood tide. The more core part was gathered into vein trajectories that penetrated into the strange layer domain dimension, linking other Blood Clan castles. Looking at this strange scene, Tucker stretched out his finger, and a puppet thread quickly condensed from Tucker's fingertips. Then this puppet thread plunged into the blood pool tree species. Steam, origin spiritual state, touch sensation. Tucker's mind moved. The power of touch perception used puppet silk thread as a medium to penetrate into the powerful veins built by the Blood Clan. Tucker has been studying puppet silk thread for a long time. It is because puppet silk thread has many wonderful uses. One of the wonderful uses is that Tucker can use puppet silk thread to exert his touch perception steam, origin spiritual state, deeply feel and touch those dangerous existences. Generally speaking, if you directly touch those terrifying and dangerous existences, once there is an abnormal danger, Tucker will not have time to avoid it. But with puppet silk thread, it is equivalent to a layer of insurance. Safety will be greatly improved. As Tucker uses steam, origin spiritual state and touch perception to penetrate into the depths of the blood crystal tree, it fits the deep vein world of the Blood Clan castle. Buzz! The vein layer domain world around Tucker is changing rapidly. Large areas of blood mist are rushing and rushing, forming an outline scene around Tucker. But There's always a force that surrounds Tucker and leads him into the deeper dimension of the vampire castle. If it were someone else, they would certainly find it difficult to know why this happened, and there would be no way to crack it. But for Tucker, he is too familiar with it. The layer dimension of the world trajectory. You can enter it by using precision, the original state of steam, or the power of phase. Well, let's use precision. Tucker, in line with the innate power of precision and correction, gently tapped a vein obstacle in front of him. Tucker cut in accurately and perfectly, and the power of correction corrected the mistakes that prevented Tucker from entering. When the layer dimension around Tucker was completely clear. For a moment, whether it was Tucker who had just entered or the many powerful vampires in this vein dimension, they were all stunned. Yes, this is a mimetic world constructed by the vampire layer and vein. A small number of vampires, but each with a strong breath, are gathering here. They seem to be having a meeting. And Tucker is the rash intruder in this vampire meeting. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 163, returning with a full load of blood crystals. Quiet. Quiet. It was so quiet that it made people feel a little uneasy. In front of the long conference table in the simulated world, more than a dozen high-level Blood Clan masters of different shapes and auras all looked at the outline of the figure that broke in rashly. You know, this is a simulated world built by Blood Clan masters using the core veins of the Blood Clan castle. It is a bit similar to the dream world built by the Dream Maker, but also a bit different. But no matter what, it is not something that other extraordinary people can break in casually. What's more, the one who broke in at this time is a human extraordinary. More importantly, they are discussing very important meeting content. It is a meeting to listen to the instructions of the Son of Dark Sun and convey the great God of Dark Sun. Now that a human has broken in like this, they are all a little confused for a while. Is this a new project added by His Excellency Wendell Francis? But they haven't heard that any human will participate. At this time, Tucker, who broke in rashly, was also a little confused about the situation. Why are there so many powerful vampires here? It seems that an important meeting is going on. Isn't it too rude for me to barge in like this? Well, they're all looking at me. It's a bit inappropriate to keep silent. Do you want I to perform a magic trick for them to liven up the atmosphere? Anyway, these are all vampires, and Tucker doesn't mind giving them a big job. Just as Tucker was thinking about using the veins to perform some tricks, a familiar yet unfamiliar gaze caught Tucker's attention. Following this gaze, he looked over. What caught his eye was a thin young man wearing a black suit, with a pocket watch in his front pocket and a black wide-brimmed hat on his right hand. This young man dressed as a noble of the Principality of Syrian, with a pair of deep and natural eyes, and his every move was aristocratic etiquette. Tucker was very sure that he should have never met such a noble. But the other party gave him a familiar feeling. In a trance, Tucker's mind flashed. It turned out to be him. Tucker laughed instantly. I heard before that the Holy Son of the Dark Sun Church left the East Continent and came to the West Continent. It is true. Based on his attire, is this guy lurking in the noble class of the Principality of Syrians? Tucker was thinking. The noble young man in the seat slowly stood up. He looked at Tucker in the back seat with a deep and natural look. Sir, Steam Wizard Tucker, good afternoon. Wendell Francis, the Holy Son of Dark Sun, was particularly polite. As soon as these words came out, many vampires in the entire simulated conference room were in an uproar. Blasphemer Tucker, he actually broke into the Blood Clan Council of the Dark Sun Church. And it was at the meeting where Wendell Francis, the Holy Son of Dark Sun, conveyed the will of the great God of Dark Sun. Blasphemer. This damn blasphemous guy. He destroyed the meeting ceremony where the God of Dark Sun conveyed the great will. In an instant, many vampires wanted to rush up and tear Tucker apart. But with the Dark Sun Saint Wendell Francis by their side, many vampires suppressed their inner restlessness. Are you challenging me? Wendell Francis said calmly. Tucker took a deep breath and looked around the room before explaining the facts. Well, not really, I just happened to pass by and came in to take a look. Wendell Francis naturally didn't believe a word of Tucker's words. As expected of an S-level extraordinary genius, and a top-level S-level extraordinary talent, his methods are indeed quite powerful. Wendell Francis' words once again made many vampires in the Vampire Council excited. S-level extraordinary talent. This has not appeared in the Augo twin stars' extraordinary realm for a long time. Although some people speculated that the blasphemer Tucker might be an S-level extraordinary talent. But no one has confirmed it. Now that it comes from the mouth of St. Wendell Francis, it is undoubtedly very certain. Tucker's eyes are slightly fixed on the Dark Sun Saint. You have been injected with S-level talents that are not weak, and there are more than one. It seems that the evil god Dark Sun values you very much? Tucker explained in a cold tone. Tucker's words made Wendell Francis' face stagnate slightly. He immediately understood that this blasphemer Tucker definitely came in for other purposes. I'm afraid that exploring his talents and abilities is one of his purposes. After all, part of his extraordinary talents and abilities are gifts from the great Dark Sun Mother Goddess. It takes a long time to digest them before they can stabilize. Tucker's rash intrusion today also proves another thing, that is, there are traitors in the Blood Clan. With this in mind, Wendell Francis no longer hesitated. Under the seemingly simple conversation, he had already secretly planned his means. Since you are here, don't leave. Wendell Francis slapped his palm on the long table. The entire meeting of the simulated world instantly turned into violent waves and ripples, sweeping towards Tucker. Tucker was like a beacon buoy in the waves. He always floated outside the waves. Facing so many vampires, Tucker would not be unprepared. It's a pleasure to meet you all. Please enjoy my curtain call magic. Tucker snapped his fingers. With a crisp pop, Tucker's figure instantly turned into a blazing flame, and the flames burst into a burning sacred light. With the blazing flames and sacred light, the veins of the entire mimicry layer dimension were quickly burned. Those powerful vampires who relied on the Vampire Castle to enter were cut off and kicked out of this mimicry world. I have sensed your location, Wendell Francis. If you don't want to be found by me, then quickly tuck your tail between your legs and run away. Tucker's voice rolled like a wave. As Tucker's voice fell, with a crisp bang, the puppet silk thread broke. The world around Tucker quickly dissipated, and then returned to the ruins of the Blood Clan Count's castle. At the same time, crack, crack, crack. The blood crystal tree that Tucker regarded as entering the mimicry domain dimension cracked on a large scale. The counterattack from Wendell Francis, the son of the evil god, was not weak. Unfortunately, it did not reach Tucker. Boom. The blood crystal tree collapsed and disintegrated. Crystals of all sizes scattered in the blood pool. Soon, the pure blood source in the blood pool was quickly absorbed by the scattered blood crystals. Without the blood source pool, the blood source energy in the air also quickly dissipated. Zilur, who was sitting cross-legged beside the blood pool, slowly opened her eyes. When she saw the blood crystal tree disintegrate a large area of blood crystals, she looked at Tucker and asked, "What happened?" "We broke into the Blood Clan castle and were discovered, and then someone used the communication power built by the remote Blood Clan castle to destroy the blood crystal tree." Tucker thought for a moment and said, "So. If that's the case, then this is not a place to stay for long." Zilur took a deep breath and looked around and said, "Yes." Tucker nodded. "It's time to leave." Whether it was the Earl or the many Blood Clan strongmen that Tucker had just provoked, they all knew that Tucker had invaded the Blood Clan castle. Now, it is estimated that they are on their way to kill. It is indeed not advisable to stay in the ecological area where the enemy is. The two immediately began to pick up the many blood crystals. "The blood crystals in here are of great help to me," Zilur suddenly said while picking up. "Great help?" Tucker raised his eyebrows slightly. Just now, Tucker felt that Zilur, who was sitting cross-legged in front of the blood pool, was in a slightly strange state. Now it seems that Zilur may have really found something that suits him. "Blood crystals are not rare," Tucker said slowly. "You didn't use it when you were hunting before." Zilur shook his head. "I also got blood crystals before, but they were all crystals and needed to be activated before they could be taken. I didn't need them, so I didn't use them. This time, I absorbed some blood crystal power directly next to the blood pool. I felt that this thing seemed to be particularly compatible with my steam core, and even vaguely made me enter a certain wonderful state." Tucker suddenly understood something when he heard it. Everyone's steam sequence is different according to their own talents, abilities, and physical characteristics. Tucker has access to a lot of resources, but only the angel sequence of light power can resonate with a steam core in his hand under Tucker's control. And Zilur has obviously found a power that fits her. That is blood crystal, or blood source energy. Bloody steam night. It sounds obviously very good. Tucker's eyes condensed slightly. Sliver may really be able to walk her own steam path. Since it works, then pick up more. Anyway, there are a lot of blood crystals here. Tucker smiled and said. While Tucker was collecting blood crystals, Shadow Wolf also opened the small warehouse of the blood count. There weren't many other good things in it. But there were quite a few blood crystals, just as Alan Diaz said. Although the number was not as many as after the collapse of the blood crystal tree, the quality of each one had many, flying, characteristics. Moreover, Tucker had mastered the construction of the blood pool before, and this time he had learned the Earl's blood pool castle in all aspects. He had also made sufficient progress in the construction of the blood pool. When Tucker's magical hut was built and the blood crystal source pool was built inside, Tucker would most likely not lack blood crystals. After the collection was completed, Tucker didn't stay for long, and took Sliver and the demon wolf, fully loaded with blood crystals, and stepped on the phase to pass through and leave. Tucker and others left for about half an hour. A group of Blood Clan strongmen arrived at the Blood Clan castle that had been plundered by Tucker in a menacing manner. Immediately, this group of furious Blood Clan strongmen began to explore Tucker's traces around. Unfortunately, Tucker had already used a safe phase jump to escape far away. Chapter 164 I really don't have S-class talent. Treeheart City, Soul Fire Rock area. Deep inside the secret room of the Furnace Heart Rock Wall. As the last batch of third-level elite materials were tempered, quenched, and put into the box. Huh? Tucker let out a long breath, straightened up and stretched. This batch of goods has finally been refined. Baggins wrote that these precious refined materials are selling very well, and have even caused quite a stir among the nobles and merchants. He even can't wait to tell me about it. Tucker smiled with this thought. Dwarves are good at forging, tempering and the like. After those precious materials appeared, those noble merchants thought they were the masterpieces of the dwarves. This made Tucker very satisfied. Just as Baggins said before, dwarf products are basically rarely checked for their sources. With a large amount of refined materials during this period, those in-depth and meticulous operations have become more and more proficient. Compared with the past, the understanding and mastery of various extraordinary characteristics have become much deeper. In the future, even if I encounter Lord-level materials, or even legendary Lord-level materials, I will be able to handle them. I heard from Baggins that the labor cost of refining many top-level materials outside is surprisingly high. Refiners are very popular in the extraordinary world. My skill in refining materials alone is enough to make a living in many city-states and towers in the extraordinary world. While thinking, Tucker looked at the flower pot on the concave stone window not far away. It has been more than a week since he explored the underground vampire castle with Sliver. Now, the magical seeds in the stone window flower pot have grown. The vines are about the thickness of fingers and half a meter high. The magical flower buds can be vaguely seen at the top. Tucker placed a lot of materials around the flower pot, including small pieces of blood crystals, small pieces of various types of metals, and some small fragments of dragon scales. When the flower bud matures and falls naturally, even if Tucker is no longer here, the little guy will eat these materials around by himself, instead of chewing on the stones. The magic hut that is carefully fed will grow faster, and when it is initially formed, the space inside will be larger. I don't know how many months it will take to mature and fall off. Looking at the magical seed tree in front of him, Tucker thought to himself. He tidied himself up a little. Tucker traveled through a phase and came to the living room he rented. With a glance, the puppet silk thread at the entrance of the house and the corridor was not moved. During this period, many vampires appeared in this area. Some mysterious organizations are also making moves in secret. Tucker had to be careful. As usual, Tucker opened the door and went out. Just as he came to the street along the alley, Tucker saw a little newsboy wearing a gray old loose top, a gray and black felt hat, and a bag full of newspapers running past him. The little newsboy shouted loudly while running. Extra! Extra! Blasphemer! Tucker invaded the Blood Clan castle and revealed his S-level extraordinary talent and S-level steam talent. Extra! Extra! Blasphemer! Tucker's latest S-level extraordinary talent has been leaked. Blasphemer, S-level extraordinary talent has been leaked. Especially the words S-level extraordinary talent are particularly harsh. The shouting of the little newsboy immediately attracted the attention of a large number of passers-by. The pedestrians at the intersection stopped and surrounded the newsboy. A newspaper is only 2 coppers, but it is very rare to get the news of blasphemer Tucker's S-level extraordinary talent in the first time. Even Tucker was very curious about it. When there were fewer pedestrians, Tucker got the newspaper with extra printing. Even the smell of volatile ink was still very fresh. Tucker boarded the steam bus and found that many people were holding newspapers in their hands to observe, and some even whispered to each other. Blasphemer, son of Dark Sun, Blood Clan, S-class extraordinary talent, steam talent. These similar words are endless. After finding a seat at the back of the steam bus, Tucker spread out the newspaper and carefully examined it. About 10 minutes later, Tucker closed the newspaper and rubbed his eyebrows. The last time, deep in the underground world, Tucker met Wendell Francis, the son of the Church of Dark Sun, for the second time and fought briefly. Tucker didn't care. After all, Tucker demolished a Blood Clan castle and returned with a full load. But the impact on the Blood Clan is obviously not that simple. Not to mention other things, just the fact that Tucker can enter the veins of the Blood Clan Council is enough to complete a small cleansing within the Blood Clan. From the first contact with St. Rand to the Black River Valley, I worked as a porter and disrupted the promotion ceremony of a certain strong man. And this time, I accidentally entered the Mimic Council of the Blood Clan's high level. Especially this time, the reckless intrusion was not very harmful, but the insult was directly pulled to the maximum. Tucker was very clear about many things before and after. This would make the Dark Sun Church hate himself even more. Fumbling with a newspaper, Tucker thought slightly. I don't know whether it was the Blood Clan who did it themselves, or the Dark Sun Saint ordered them to do it. It is definitely a provocation to publish my information in the Steam Daily of Saint Land. Provocation is fine. In addition, can't you guess more accurately? In the newspaper in Tucker's hand, the 2 S-level extraordinary talents of the blasphemer Tucker revealed above are: S-level extraordinary talent, accurate shooting, 376%. S-level steam talent, steam phase, 412%. There is no doubt that this was analyzed by the Dark Sun Church through the ability and means displayed by Tucker, and it is even possible that divination and other mystical means were borrowed. If you say he is not accurate, this is indeed a bit. If you say he is accurate, the mistakes are indeed a bit outrageous. How about? Tucker rubbed his fingers. Send some exclusive news to the Steam newspaper of Saint Land. It is said that the son of Dark Sun has 3 S-level extraordinary talents, namely Soul Phase, Spiritual World Harmony, and Dark Heart. I can even guess the numerical value. After thinking about it, Tucker shook his head and gave up this move that did not make much sense and even had potential risks. Tracking the enemy through information also exists in mysticism. Even through the state of a large amount of information gathering, it is possible to find the enemy accurately. If Tucker delivered the information was widely spread in the Saint Land ecosystem, then the divination ritual can fully utilize the power of this ecological dissemination to find Tucker in the ecosystem. Of course, this kind of information mysticism divination ritual is not without a way to crack it. The way to crack it is quite simple, that is, just not in this ecosystem. As time goes by, the characteristics of the information torrent will be eased and settled in the ecosystem. After the storm has passed, it will be safe to come back. You want to detect me this way? Tucker smiled softly as he looked at the newspaper in his hand. Unfortunately, I don't have an S-level extraordinary talent. I won't even have an SSS level extraordinary talent soon. He has been hanging up in Saint Land for a while. Although the 5-ring tower in Saint Land doesn't give many extraordinary talent fragments. But as time goes by, Tucker is very close to the SSS level upper limit of 2000% of the Steam origin spiritual state. Compared with precision, correction. The Steam origin spiritual state has a wider range of functions. Tucker plans to increase the Steam origin spiritual state to the upper limit of 2000% of the SSS level first, and see what new incredible characteristics will appear after the breakthrough. As the steam bus arrived at the station, Tucker's destination arrived. This is the Earth Fire Rock District, the Dwarf Street. Woo woo woo. The galloping source energy steam, the low and melodious whistle sound, and the tinkling sound of iron hammering and knocking came from the depths of the Dwarf Street. The wonderful sound of the extraordinary ecology made Tucker feel particularly comfortable. Tucker is now increasingly able to appreciate the wonderful feeling brought by the steam ecosystem. Chapter 165 Earn money by your own ability. Oh, my good brother Andre. You are finally here. As soon as Tucker arrived at the backyard of shop number 112, he heard the loud voice of Baggins in the house. Tucker looked around. After Tucker's suggestion last time, Baggins had completely reshaped the energy barrier in his backyard. Compared with the previous energy barrier, the thickness and defensibility have been greatly improved. The transaction will take a long time, and Tucker does not want his transaction with Baggins here to be discovered by others. Baggins rushed out of the house with a newspaper in his hand. "Brother Andre, have you read today's newspaper?" "Yes." Tucker nodded. As they walked along, whether it was the main street or the dwarf street they had just arrived at, they could see newspaper boys waving newspapers and shouting to sell newspapers everywhere. That blasphemer Tucker actually has double S-level extraordinary talents, which is incredible. Baggins, who led Tucker inside, could not help but sigh. In Saint Land, if you have an A-level extraordinary talent and exceed the critical point of 100%, you are already a top-level extraordinary genius. And the A-level extraordinary talents that exceed the threshold of 150% are said to be the focus of attention in the Principality of Syrian. It is even possible that they will be favored by the Grand Duke of Syrian and taken to the church or even to the Temple Academy for further study. As for the existence of S-level extraordinary talents, our Aga twin stars extraordinary world has not seen them for a long time. The last time they appeared, it seemed to be in the East Continent. It's just a genius of the extraordinary assassin sequence. Unfortunately, it's our enemy. At this point, Baggins shook his head. He then glanced at Tucker. "Brother Andre, don't you have anything to say?" Tucker thought for a while before saying this. "What does Tucker's S-level extraordinary talent have to do with me, Andre?" Baggins smiled when he heard this, and didn't elaborate on this issue. As Tucker gradually took out the many refined materials, Baggins's little eyes began to shine. "Brother Andre, you should have read all the magic letters I sent to you. You have read them all. Does it really have a big impact among the nobles and businessmen?" "More than a big impact." Baggins waved his fist and shared his joy with Tucker. "The nobles themselves will specifically issue commissions to our Dwarf Chamber of Commerce. If we purchase or forge harmless materials, they will buy them at a high price. However, the harmless materials in the market or forged by other dwarves, although they are shown to be harmless in tests, will still have many hidden negative effects. But the super materials that you, Brother Andre, have refined this time are truly harmless materials. During this period, many nobles have used this type of material. Those nobles, as you know, only want to have the benefits of strong strength, strong physique, and long life after upgrading. But they dare not catalyze the transformation and growth of their own extraordinary sequences in high-intensity battles. Therefore, their ecology is very weak. Don't even mention advancement, upgrading is very difficult. But this time, the materials refined by Brother Andre actually allowed many noble extraordinary people to complete their advancement safely. The sale of the first 2 batches of materials quickly became popular in the noble circle. During this period, many nobles and business extraordinary people have contacted me, and some have even made reservations in advance. There are people willing to buy the materials of regular elites at 7 or 8 times the price. 7 or 8 times the price of materials? Tucker raised his eyebrows slightly. But after thinking about it carefully, he roughly understood. Those nobles and businessmen who are extraordinary. They have not experienced cruel fighting. They have not experienced the tempering of life and death pressure at the soul level. They have not calmed down and concentrated on understanding the ecology and carefully understanding their extraordinary means and abilities. There is no way to fully activate their extraordinary ecology. The extraordinary ecology is not active enough, the framework is not built, and the stability is not high enough. The difficulty of promotion is naturally very high. The materials refined by Tucker just happen to perfectly solve these problems. It can allow those nobles to complete the promotion more safely. However, this is only limited to the initial extraordinary, as well as the elite and ordinary materials. Leader-level materials, just digestion, without sufficient foundation, cannot be done. And the intermediate extraordinary above level 40. The extraordinary state is not something that ordinary extraordinary can touch. But even so, the perfect achievement of elite promotion to level 2 and elite promotion to level 3 also meets the needs of many nobles and businessmen. The price of the second level elite materials is generally around 300 magic gold, which is about 4 or 5 times the original price. The profit is about 240 magic gold. The price of the third level elite materials is very amazing, generally above 1,300 magic gold. At the beginning, the nobles were not very willing to accept it, but after some noble extraordinary people tested and used it, the demand for these materials is now quite amazing. The profit unit price of the third level elite materials is about 1,000 magic gold. According to the profit sharing we agreed on before, it is 30% and 70%. About 80% of the first 2 batches of materials have been sold. Brother Andre, this time you can get about. Baggins quickly took out a list of materials calculated before. About 60,000 magic gold. The sales of this batch of materials and subsequent materials will also follow up. As long as Brother Andre provides these materials twice a month. In the future, you can have a pretty good income every month. Baggins handed the material sales list to Tucker. These materials were all refined by Tucker one by one. Tucker naturally knew the quantity. After a brief inspection, Tucker nodded slightly. Baggins' work still made Tucker feel at ease. The price is a bit higher at the beginning, but later, the price should not be so expensive. Tucker put away the list of materials for sale and said, "Of course, at the beginning, this kind of material is scarce, so the price is naturally high. When we sell it stably, we will enter a long period of stability. After saturation, it will slowly decline. This is the law of the market. But no matter what, Brother Andre, your method of refining materials is definitely in a monopoly position. In the future, it will be a steady and profitable business." Baggins smiled warmly. Soon, Baggins handed Tucker the extraordinary storage bracelet containing 60,000 magic gold. Tucker took the extraordinary bracelet and looked at it, and his eyebrows raised immediately. I saw that the internal space of this extraordinary storage bracelet was very huge. The extraordinary storage bracelet that Tucker asked Baggins to help build before was only about 1.5 cubic meters. At this time, this extraordinary storage bracelet has about 5 cubic meters or 6 cubic meters of space. This is already a large extraordinary storage bracelet, which is a very rare good thing. Tucker looked at Baggins while groping for the extraordinary bracelet. Baggins said with a look of disapproval, "Brother Andre, why are you still being polite to me? This is a gift from me to you. The friendship between us dwarves cannot be compared with money. Of course, if we can earn magic gold, it would be even better." Baggins' words made Tucker laugh. This guy can always find his own balance between money and friendship, which is difficult for many people to do. Feeling the light green wooden life breath in the storage bracelet, there is a sufficient amount of 60,000 magic gold. Tucker breathed a sigh of relief. Although Tucker was relatively rich before, the wealth he obtained was all looted from other people's corpses. In the gaps of wealth, there is scarlet blood and danger. But this time, Tucker used his knowledge of supernormal studies and his SSS-level supernormal talent to earn the wealth. Although all the money was earned by his own ability. But the previous way of acquiring wealth was rough, risky and unsustainable. Now, it is safe and stable, with sufficient room for sustainable development. Just as Tucker was thinking, Baggins on the side spoke again. "Brother Andre, when I went to participate in the Dwarf Council 2 days ago, one of my cousins contacted me and said that he hoped I could help him refine a leader-level material. I said I would consider it. If you are willing to help him refine and forge, I will agree. If you are not willing, I will refuse." Tucker thought for a while before speaking. "Helping with refining, the fee is relatively cheap, it is not a big problem, but I have a request." "What request, Brother Andre? Just make it." Baggins immediately became motivated when he saw that there was a chance. But Tucker's words made him wilt. "I hope to get a portion of the reward for your family's treasure hunt first. That is, the third-level Iron Armored Dragon Lord's extraordinary dragon crystal. I want to get it first." Chapter 166, Third Order Red Flame Dragon Scale Armor. Tucker accepted Baggins' invitation. He participated in the treasure trip deep underground of the dwarf family. Such a dangerous plan was naturally hedged by the generous reward of the dwarf family. Otherwise, who would be willing to risk their lives to help the dwarves retrieve the treasure? The Baggins family promised Tucker a third-level Iron Armored Dragon Lord's extraordinary dragon crystal, as well as some other rare extraordinary forging knowledge and books. Lord-level dragon crystal. This material can be called the most perfect material in the minds of extraordinary people. At the same time, its digestion difficulty is also very high. Ordinary promotion potions are difficult to dissolve and digest dragon crystal materials. It is necessary to use the life spring water of the elves, or the mysterious spring water of the East Sea, or the magic-free spring water of the East Continent, and other special materials to refine the promotion potion to dissolve and digest. Such high-level material potions, ordinary extraordinary people dare not drink them. Originally, the precious Lord-level material was something Tucker could only obtain after completing the treasure trip. At this time, Tucker's request for obtaining the materials in advance made Baggins feel a little embarrassed. "Brother Andre, I'm afraid that the family will not agree to your request." Tucker just smiled and said, "With so many materials sold at such high prices, you should not be the only one selling them. Your dwarf family and their channels should have received some, right?" Tucker's words made Baggins pause. "Your entire family has become famous recently because of these materials. When I passed by the street, I heard people discussing these things. Just now, when I entered this store, I found that the number of customers in your store was several times that of the past. At that time, I thought, perhaps, we should change places to connect resources. Your store has too many people." Tucker explained slowly and logically. "And this also indirectly proves that the effect of those perfect fine materials has an impact beyond the fine materials themselves. Your family's store industry will sell more goods and earn more magic gold because of this, am I right?" After saying that, Tucker shook the material price form in his hand. "No matter what, Baggins, I still believe you, but I don't know whether your family members have accurately filled in this selling price. Talk to your family members, I think they should consider my proposal carefully." Tucker's words immediately made Baggins mutter, "Damn. You can always clearly see through the possible tricks of those guys. You also know that this is one of the drawbacks of the family chamber of commerce. I will have a good discussion with the old guys in the family. I will try my best to get you the third-level Lord materials. But I can't guarantee that you will get it," Baggins said seriously. "Just help me fight for it. It's good to get it in advance, but if you can't get it in advance, the thing can't run away." Tucker shrugged. "Haha. Brother Andre, you are so nice to hear. Don't worry, I will do my best to help you. Besides," Andre paused, "have you heard about the lighthouse project?" "Yes, I heard that this lighthouse project is going to be a big deal." Tucker nodded. "It's even a big project that the entire Principality of Syrian will be involved in. I also heard that our dwarf family has also received a corresponding lighthouse project. The forging and construction of the lighthouse is a big project. Do you want to participate in the lighthouse project of our dwarf family? We can give you a generous reward." Tucker thought about it and shook his head. "I want to participate in the lighthouse project of Larmor." Seeing this, Baggins raised his thick eyebrows hard. "That's right, you are a member of the city-state of Larmor. The lighthouse built by Larmor will inevitably be targeted more. You can obviously perform better there. We dwarves here are obviously not the main target of the werewolves and vampires and the humans of the Dark Sun Church. Brother Andre, if you need our dwarves to help forge and improve the strength of the steam tower in Larmor, I will recruit people for you as soon as possible. If necessary, I will." Tucker nodded. "In addition, how is the equipment I need forging?" This is also one of the purposes of Tucker's trip. All forging has been completed, and we are waiting for Brother Andre to come and condense the rune ring. "Yes." Tucker nodded and stood up. "In this case, let's get started." Half an hour later. In Baggins' magical alchemy hut. As the rich flames and high temperatures gradually faded. In the third-level red flame dragon scale armor, the power of 1 flame rune plus 2 earth runes was perfectly gathered into a ring by Tucker. While operating the flame of the source energy steam engine, Baggins said with sweat on his forehead, "Brother Andre, the more I see your tricks, the more amazing they are. There are not many talented wizards like you in Saint Land. It's a pity not to go to the Saint Land Tower to study." Tucker slowly responded while holding the rune ring. "After I came to Saint Land, I have been studying in the Saint Land Tower. I have even finished the elementary wizard course and started to study the intermediate wizard course. I really envy your human learning ability. My bastard only knows how to go out and fight. I don't know where he learned that dwarves must have steel heads. That damn bastard must have had his head crushed by the door when he was born." Baggins muttered and complained. Tucker thought for a while and then responded seriously, "You say? Is there a possibility? This is genetic. Baggins. During the chat, the red flame dragon scale armor gradually annealed successfully. The dragon scale armor also showed its inherent dragon scale metallic color. The combination of the mountain giant bear's bear skin and dragon scales is quite good. As a ring-shaped red flame dragon scale armor, it is different from ordinary rune extraordinary armor. Ordinary extraordinary armor can only be worn outside the body and cannot follow the transformation of the extraordinary state. However, the ring-shaped red flame dragon scale armor can be perfectly integrated into the skin and flesh, and can be transformed with the extraordinary state of the extraordinary person himself. It does not hinder Tucker from wearing the wizard robe at all. This ring-shaped third-level red flame dragon scale armor was specially customized by Tucker based on his steam sequence, light flame state, and other means and abilities. It perfectly fits Tucker's physique and extraordinary ecology. At present, the red flame dragon scale armor looks very much like a dragon scale vest, but it is not worn. Wow! With a thought, Tucker's whole body was on fire, and the hot flames were rolling. Even Baggins on the side was shocked. Fortunately, he also knew the powerful means of the steam wizard in front of him. In an instant, it was quiet. One hand was placed on the red flame dragon scales. The ignited red flame dragon scales were quickly absorbed by Tucker. The Earth Mountain Bear, the dragon bathing in flames. The two forces quickly settled on the surface of Tucker's skin. When Tucker dispersed the flames, Tucker had already put on the dragon scales. It seems that Tucker is no different from a normal wizard. But under the wizard robe, there is a red flame dragon scale. This is a full-dimensional three-dimensional defense that is stronger than the top-heavy armor. It has strong defense and resistance in the soul, physics, magic, curse, exploration, divination, dreams, etc. After all, this is a dragon scale. Not bad. After carefully feeling it, Tucker nodded with satisfaction. The One Ring Shadow Rune Ring Staff had been replaced by Tucker before. The One Ring Shadow Rune Ring Staff has the same effect as the previous single Shadow Rune Shadow Ring Staff. It's just that its function is more powerful. The shadow state has better effects and is more concealed. The effect of traveling was also improved. The interaction with light was also very smooth, which satisfied Tucker. At this time, Tucker had a bright red flame bracelet in his left hand and a Shadow Rune Ring Staff in his right hand. He was wearing a red flame dragon scale armor forged from the skin and dragon scales of a mountain giant bear. A large amount of resources were harvested before. Now, they have finally been transformed into Tucker's direct and effective powerful combat power. Chapter 167. Soulfire Rock District, Lamore Street. The Tree Heart Crypt Tavern is particularly lively today. When Tucker came in, the tables in the tavern that were originally relatively empty were now full of people. As for the noisy discussion in the tavern, Tucker has heard a lot of it today. Blasphemers, blood races, S-level extraordinary talents, the son of the dark sun. For extraordinary people, the appearance of S-level extraordinary talents is enough to shock the entire Augu Twin Star continent, and it is even an extraordinary talent that may be recorded in history. What's more, today they are in the vortex of such a storm event, witnessing history. Two drunken extraordinary people at a nearby table had a dispute over whether the extraordinary talent of Blasphemer Tucker in today's newspaper was true news. They soon started fighting, and it ended with one person falling down and being carried to the haystack in the backyard. I heard that the news has spread to the holy city of floating stars. Is it true, so fast? How can it be false? The magic network of the extraordinary steam tower has long been connected along the steam and rails. Such a big thing happened in Saint Land, they will definitely know it first. That's right, even if we take the train, it will only take a day or two to reach the floating star city. Everyone in the hall discussed it. Tucker was in the corner of the bar. He was still wearing the second-level wizard robe that had been with him for a long time and was a little damaged. After a lot of battles, although Tucker also maintained it daily, it was inevitable that it would be damaged. Before, Tucker's wizard physique was strong enough, but the defense of his body was not very strong. But now, the third-level one-ring red flame dragon scale armor fits on his body. The defense is completely different from the past. Today's wizard robes are more for covering and the effect of source energy quenching during daily practice, and the defensive function is no longer necessary. While quietly drinking his oakstone fruit wine, Tucker quietly thought about the Principality of Celians and the big plan that Saint Land was going to launch recently to fight against the Dark Sun Church, the Steam Lighthouse plan. The Dark Sun Church. It is not an ordinary mysterious church. It is a powerful mysterious faith church that spans many extraordinary worlds and worships the terrifying evil god Dark Sun and has a long history and even a very famous record. Three-eyed God, Sacred Gaia, Pan-Plane, Spiritual Blue Star Sea, Transcendent Holy Spirit Kingdom, also referred to as Three-eyed God, Holy Spirit Kingdom. In many border extraordinary planes, they are under attack and infiltration from various forces. The Dark Sun Church is one of the powerful forces. The tide of the era of steam roaring is surging, and the Three-eyed God, Holy Spirit Kingdom is also facing the era changes caused by the outbreak of the steam extraordinary era. In addition, the various forces within the Three-eyed God, Holy Spirit Empire are fighting openly and secretly with each other. Facing the war against the Dark Sun Church, it is particularly difficult. Not to mention other extraordinary worlds. In the Principality of Sirian alone, the Grand Duke of Sirian not only had to fight against the Sun Rock Empire, which was also a force in the southern continent, but also had to develop the East China Sea. The Deep Sea had more extraordinary resources than the continental territory. To develop the East China Sea, it was necessary to suppress the natives of the Islands of the Stars in the East China Sea. And those natives who were not very civilized originally also developed rapidly in the past few decades. The extraordinary sequence, sea demon ship, steam airship, and other means and abilities with extraordinary characteristics of the sequence era. There are also extraordinary rituals such as totem worship, blood sacrifice worship, and ancestral heroic spirit worship. They were so quickly mastered by those uncivilized island natives. It is obvious that there are other Grand Dukes who are not on good terms with the Grand Duke of Sirian. Even the Stone Golem Empire of the East Continent is accelerating its unification and establishment. They are even secretly guided by a mysterious master to submit an application to Three-eyed God, Sacred Gaia, Pan-Plane, Spiritual Blue Star Sea, Extraordinary Holy Spirit Kingdom, to establish a mainland principality. In order to curb the development of marine resources and the development of the East Continent by the Principality of Sirian. The situation in the extraordinary world of the Augu twin stars is undoubtedly very complicated. The downward transmission of the upper-level confrontation pressure of the Holy Spirit Kingdom. The complex internal environment of the Principality. This also led to the Dark Curtain province headed by Saint Rand becoming more and more passive in the process of fighting against the Dark Sun Church in the northern border. But this passive situation finally ushered in a turning point. The Principality of Sirian. With Saint Rand as the core, it will officially launch a plan to fight against the Dark Sun Church, the Steam Lighthouse Plan. Tucker knows the principle, but Tucker is not clear about the specific large-scale preparation plan. Basically, the Principality of Sirian, under the promotion of the Grand Duke of Sirian, will use steam railways and steam lighthouses as hubs and veins. A large amount of source energy will be delivered to St. Rand's steam lighthouse and St. Rand's body, the lava furnace core tree stump. Use the roaring power of the entire empire's extraordinary industry. Light up many lighthouses to expel and burn the entire northern border. It can be said that this is to use the power of the extraordinary industry of the entire Principality of Sirian, and use the ecology of Saint Land as a spear to fight against the Dark Sun ecology of the entire northern border. Among them, the King's Crown will be used, which may affect the King's sequence of the power of the Grand Duke of Sirian. But the Grand Duke of Sirian still confirmed the plan. It can be said that the Saint Land Lighthouse Plan. This is a crucial war. It is a war that concerns the future destiny of the Principality of Sirian. If it wins, the Principality of Sirian will occupy the dominant position in the Western continent and even the entire August Twin Star realm. Even, as long as it is a tie, the Principality of Sirian will make a lot of money. The power of the extraordinary steam industry will only become more and more intense. If it continues, the roar of the source energy steam engine will shake the whole world. And once it loses, the power of the King's Crown will collapse. The veins established by the major extraordinary city-states will also be hit. Those opposing voices will also rise. If people's hearts are scattered, it will be difficult to lead the team. This is also the result of the defeat of the Principality of Sirians in this confrontation. Tucker didn't care too much about why the high-level masters made such a decision. However, this steam lighthouse project is extremely important to Tucker. It is an unprecedented benefit. It even has a significant impact on Tucker's upcoming promotion to the third level and the birth of the ability of the Angel Sequence. Before, Tucker and Zillur completed the destruction of the Blood Clan's castle together. They also got a large amount of blood crystals. 2 days after returning, Sliver learned from the channel on the tower that Tucker invaded the Blood Clan Council and had a brief fight with the son of St. Wendell Francis. He turned around and asked Tucker about the truth of the matter. Tucker didn't hide anything and told everything. In Tucker's view, this was just an accidental encounter. Since Sliver asked, it doesn't matter. But in Sliver's view, the meaning is too different. Soon, Sliver reported the whole process of her and the blasphemer Tucker attacking the Blood Clan Castle to the St. Land Tower. Of course, many details were hidden. But Sliver recorded the battle magic images of the two fighting against a Blood Clan together. And this. It also made the Lamore Street, which originally had the ability to build a steam lighthouse independently, receive greater support from above. Today, Sliver agreed to meet Tucker here. It was to explain to Tucker about the construction of the steam lighthouse on Lamore Street. And to tell Tucker about the problems he had explained before. Not long. Sliver, dressed in the clothes of ordinary St. Land residents, lowered his hat and entered from the side door of the bar. After the two looked at each other, Sliver walked to the second floor of the bar. This Tree Heart Crypt Tavern itself has Sliver's shares. The bar has a secret place for Sliver to stay. Tucker drank the stone fruit wine in the glass, then staggered to his feet, looking a little drunk, and walked towards the back door of the bar. At this time, a scout who had been following Tucker for a long time followed him quietly. At this moment, in the corner of the row of wine tables between the entrance and the alley leading to the backyard, a voice with a warning sounded. "Hey, don't make trouble here." Carlos was looking at the newly arrived second-level scout indifferently. In the extraordinary world, taverns, hotels, casinos, and underground red light districts. If you want to maintain public order, you have to rely on yourself. The only role of the sheriff is probably to come and collect the bodies and issue wanted orders. Facing Carlos's deterrence, the scout showed the dagger in his sleeve, looked at Carlos coldly, and ignored him. He had been watching the second-level wizard for a long time. And his magic pet Sniff smelled a lot of magic gold on the other party. Seeing that guy was not stopping to dissuade him, Carlos shook his head. "Stupid, that guy is not easy to deal with. You will be the one who will suffer." Then again, this guy's method is so familiar. Is it that guy? Carlos tapped the table and fell into deep thought. Anyway, I hope that wizard doesn't kill anyone. Otherwise, it will be troublesome to deal with the body. Carlos touched his chin immediately. My sister said the same thing last time, and it can intimidate others. Why can't I? Could it be that I am sitting in the wrong position? After waiting for about 2 minutes, Carlos got up and walked to the back. Sure enough, the scout who followed the wizard out had completely fainted and was lying in the haystack in the sheep pen. There were 3 other guys in the haystack who were almost the same as the scout. Carlos went up and felt around. Sure enough, the wizard's method was quite experienced and he didn't leave him anything valuable. The only thing he had was the worn-out first-level leather armor and the first-level short boots on the scout, which were barely worth a few magic golds. That guy didn't plunder everything. Could it be that he left some for me because I helped him before? After getting these things, Carlos looked around and couldn't see any trace of the wizard. Chapter 168 Steam Lighthouse Angel. In the corner of the room on the second floor, Tucker fumbled for the things he had looted from the second-level assassin. The extraordinary storage bracelet was very small. There were only more than 30 magic golds in it, and a few potion bottles. The potions in them were all drunk, leaving only empty bottles. Seeing this, Tucker couldn't help shaking his head. This is what many ordinary extraordinary people in St. Land originally looked like. If you say he is poor, then he doesn't have to worry about daily food and drink. Even if he lies down, he can live a very comfortable life. But if you say he is rich, there is not much magic gold on his body. He may not even have the money for the materials for promotion. In fact, this is what a large number of extraordinary people look like. Nowadays, with the popularization of the extraordinary sequence, many extraordinary people who master the extraordinary sequence are essentially ordinary people. There is a high probability that their level will remain in the apprenticeship period for their entire lives. Or if they are a little richer, they can buy some ordinary materials and become ordinary first-level extraordinary people. But this second-level scout this time still has something. That is, this guy actually caught a magical creature from nowhere. Although it doesn't look like it has pure bloodline and is not in good condition, this guy does have the bloodline of a magical creature. It's about the size of 2 fists, and should be chubby, but it's very thin. It can't be said that it looks very similar to a platypus, but it can only be said that it looks exactly like a platypus. Even if it stays in the pet magic bag, its hind legs are still tied by magic chains. Whether it is this magical pet bag or the magical creature inside, it is obviously not the work of the assassin. Stolen. Or picked up. Looking at the magical creature in the small pet bag, Tucker even felt that this little guy would not live long in the hands of an assassin. Magical creatures, this is not how you raise them. Tucker shook his head secretly, and then put the pet bag under his wizard robe. Turning around, Tucker looked at the simple and plainly decorated cottage. Sofas, fireplaces, bookshelves, weapon racks, armor cabinets, everything is available. There's even a rather exquisite small wine cabinet at the door. Meanwhile, Zillower was adjusting the drinks inside. Would you like a drink? I've had enough downstairs, a glass of steak. Then Tucker rubbed his fingers together and flicked them into the fireplace. Wow! The flames burned fiercely. It was still cold in places far from the hearth of the furnace. And here on Lamore Street, it was far from the hearth of the furnace. Really? Zillower, who brought the drinks, asked with a little interest. What? Tucker was a little puzzled. Today's newspaper, everyone is talking about that thing, S-level extraordinary talent. Sure enough, gossip is a woman's nature. Even Zillower is no exception. Tucker picked up the glass and took a sip before saying, it's about half right. Does that mean it's really an S-level extraordinary talent? Zillower raised his eyebrows immediately. Well, I guess so. Tucker's words were a little vague, but Zillower didn't care too much. After all, for such things, revealing a word is a taboo for extraordinary people. Once an S-level extraordinary talent appears, it will cause turmoil in the entire Augu Twin Stars extraordinary world. What's more, the extraordinary person who possesses this pair of S-level extraordinary talents is the blasphemer Tucker. Looking at the Tucker in front of him who has completely changed his appearance, Zillower also understood why Tucker can have such powerful means and strength. S-level extraordinary talent. The last time he appeared in the Augu Twin Stars extraordinary world was 10 years ago. S-level extraordinary talents are really too rare. After calming down a little, Zillower slowly began to narrate. It is estimated that this afternoon, at the latest tomorrow, the Lord of the High Tower will definitely summon me again, and he will definitely ask about these things at that time. Let me know something from you first, so that I can have an explanation at that time. In addition, Zillower paused, and he looked at Tucker and said seriously, the requirements you mentioned before, the lighthouse built on the Lamore Street must contain the characteristics of the angel sequence, and the above has allowed it. Agreed? When Tucker heard this, he raised his eyebrows, and a little joy appeared in the depths of his eyes. After Zillower explained to Tucker some things about the steam lighthouse plan, Tucker realized that this lighthouse might be the key to guiding the power of the angel sequence in his body. After all, the steam lighthouse built this time is the collection of the power of the entire Principality of Sirion. Through the study of extraordinary sequence knowledge, Tucker knows many characteristics of the angel sequence and the incredible power of the kingdom's crown. He also knows that a large amount of steam tower power can pull deep-level extraordinary abilities. Level 3 breakthrough at level 30. This is Tucker's opportunity to awaken the powerful angel sequence ability. Tucker naturally needs to seize this opportunity. Now, with a gradual improvement of his own strength, within the scope of Saint Land, Tucker has gradually entered an active state. He can seek better development of his own strength. In addition, it is impossible to conceal the fact that he and Zillower cooperated to destroy the Blood Clan castle. So after Tucker learned about the lighthouse plan, Tucker explained some of his needs to Zillower. For example, in the lighthouse built on the long street of Lamore, a certain amount of light power containing the angel sequence descended. This request was not excessive. After all, it was only a part of the power of the angel sequence that descended, not a complete angel sequence. Tucker believed that Saint Rand should still have some resources in this regard. And the feedback given by Saint Rand was indeed the case. My angel sequence itself grew in the steam sequence in the form of a seed. When I was promoted to the 3rd level, I took a 3rd level light material. Then I activated and absorbed some of the power of the angel sequence in the lighthouse. It will allow me to complete the awakening of the angel sequence ability very well. At that time, I can fully awaken the ability of a very powerful angel sequence. However, Tucker fumbled with his fingers slightly. The materials of the light leader level, This is not easy to obtain. While thinking, Tucker looked at Sliver. Before Tucker could speak, Sliver had already spoken first. The higher-ups have promised to put the power of the Angel of Light into the Lamor Lighthouse. But they are not without conditions. When necessary, the higher-ups will give you some tasks, and I hope you can complete them. The higher-ups still have great expectations for you. After a pause, Tucker nodded. Tucker did not say anything about wanting to ask Saint Land for materials through Sliver. It was already very considerate for the higher-ups to be able to guide the power of the Angel of Light sequence to descend on the Lamor Lighthouse. Tucker could not rely on the Saint Land Tower for everything. Moreover, the more he asked for from Saint Land, the more likely those spies hiding in Saint Land would find Tucker. It is undoubtedly safer for Tucker to obtain resources himself instead of asking for them from Saint Land blindly. During this period, Tucker has noticed that many people have been exploring the Lamor Street. Obviously, after the last trip to the Blood Clan Castle, Sliver has become the vine that the Dark Sun Church follows to find the melon. Tucker said slowly while thinking. During this period, more and more members of the Dark Sun Church have gathered on Lamor Street. At the same time, Tucker paused. The power of the Saint Lander strongmen has also explored this area many times. Tucker's words made Sliver's face slightly tense. Lamor, the existence of Tucker the Blasphemer, will definitely make Lamor Street more concerned by the Dark Sun Church. Fortunately, the strongmen of Saint Lander also know this. What surprised Sliver was that Tucker could actually feel the exploration of the Saint Lander strongmen here. But thinking about Tucker's extraordinary talent, he was relieved immediately. In the future, if it is not necessary, try to contact as little as possible. Otherwise, my identity, which I have finally settled in Saint Lander, will have to change again. Yes. Sliver nodded. During this period of time, we will build a lighthouse defense line in the deep area of the underground city, or build a lighthouse near the Black Ash River. It's nothing important. When the lighthouse starts to light up, you will know it naturally. Tucker, who was getting up and preparing to leave, suddenly thought of something. Then Tucker looked at Sliver. By the way, do you have any channels for the extraordinary gatherings on the black market that I mentioned last time? As Tucker asked, Sliver took out a black card from the extraordinary storage bracelet. Tucker took the card and felt it was quite heavy. After a glance, Tucker couldn't even tell what the card was made of. This is the entrance ticket to the extraordinary exchange meeting built by several powerful extraordinary masters on the black market in the underground city. In a sense, it's very safe there. But the participants are very chaotic, including vampires, werewolves, members of the Dark Sun Church, and members of some other mysterious organizations. If you want to go there, be careful. At least you should be familiar with the black market environment here first. Sliver said with admonition. Tucker nodded as he fumbled with a black card in his hand. Besides, you should also be careful of the revenge of the vampires. I know. As Sliver finished speaking, Tucker disappeared. Chapter 169 Dreammaker Invasion. I don't know if it's because Tucker and Sliver went deep into the vampire castle ecosystem and destroyed a vampire castle. Or is it because Tucker cut into the vampire high-level council and fought with the son of Dark Sun? After the sensational S-level extraordinary talent was published in the newspaper, which was almost known to the whole city, the vampires and werewolves in the underground world were inexplicably quiet. Even the advancement of the vampire ecology stopped. A few days later, Saint Rand was in Saint Rand on the Steam Daily. The capital of the Celians, Floating Star City, was also in the Steam Daily of the Principality of Celians. Both issued a war decree, the Steam Lighthouse Plan. An entire page of the newspaper that day was about the Steam Lighthouse Plan of the Principality of Celians. As the information of the Steam Daily spread, the sensation caused was far greater than the S-level extraordinary talent of the Blasphemer. And the impact was immediate. With the publication of the newspaper, the prices of St. Rand's supplies rose across the board that day. Tucker often went to the downstairs to inquire about the news. The drinks in the drinking place doubled in just 2 days. There is no doubt. The Steam Lighthouse Plan issued by the Daily News of the Principality of Syrian. It is the declaration of war by the Principality of Syrian against the Dark Sun Church. Its impact is profound and long-term. Prices are rising, and every family begins to hoard goods. Even the number of pedestrians on the street has decreased a lot. The atmosphere of war began to spread in Saint Land. In this state of war atmosphere, Tucker's life has become stable. go to the tower to study, sit in the hut to practice, refine materials in the secret room, etc. Occasionally go out to purchase some resources you need, etc. More than a month has passed quickly. Barrier secret room. In the corner, Tucker, sitting cross-legged on the bearskin meditation seat, slowly opened his eyes. Although it was dark around, Tucker could still see everything around him clearly. After more than a month of practice, the light rune secret has almost reached the level of the second ring. The speed of progress is quite good. The power of the spear of shaping light and the holy light healing spell has also increased accordingly. In addition, in terms of the fire rune secret, it has also made good progress. When the next wave of black market extraordinary people gather, we can see what powerful fire witchcraft and light witchcraft there are. The remaining ecological niche can accommodate a 3-star rune witchcraft. If you meet a suitable 3-star wizard, it will be good. If not, it is also good to add some powerful 2-star witchcraft. In the future, if you encounter similar 3-star rune witchcraft, you can also transform the witchcraft spirit bridge. With this in mind, Tucker relaxed his body slightly. Tucker used top-grade materials when he was promoted to the second level, which made Tucker not feel numb in the flesh and sink in the soul consciousness, even if he sat cross-legged for a long time. Tucker stood up, rubbed his fingers and flicked them lightly, and the sparks fell on the wall lamp. The dark barrier chamber was quickly lit up by the wall lamp. Tucker came to the pet bag on the side and stared at it. The platypus-like magical creature inside appeared in Tucker's pupil vision. The magic chain that originally bound the little guy was removed by Tucker. Even the small lightning magic restriction in the little guy's body was removed by Tucker. But this magical little guy obviously has a fear of humans. And Tucker doesn't seem to have much talent in creature intimacy. Tucker's communication is like playing the lute to a cow. This magical little animal doesn't care at all. Tucker even went to the tower to check the cooking techniques of magical beasts. Tucker had no choice but to let this little guy go in the secret room. With the feeding of blood crystals and other corresponding foods. The current magical little guy is obviously in a much better state than when he first came into Tucker's hands. Even when he eats and sleeps, the color of his hair has begun to recover. Several times, when Tucker was secretly observing, he found that this little guy would run out of the pet bag by himself. Once Tucker came in, this little guy would escape back to the pet bag at an amazing speed. Tucker has currently discovered that this little guy has a strong sense of smell for metals and other substances. The rarer the metal, the more sensitive the little guy's sense of smell will be. Tucker estimated that the original owner of this guy probably used this characteristic to let it sniff the magic gold on the drunkards and then make a fortune. Unfortunately, it met Tucker, and even lost his wife this time. This magical animal, called Little Sniffing Duck by Tucker, has gradually adapted to this place during this period. Moreover, that guy is obviously very interested in Tucker's magical hut. As soon as Tucker is not here, the little guy will run to wander around the magical hut. By the way, he will eat up the blood crystals and broken metal materials that Tucker placed next to the magical hut. Just when Tucker was preparing to refine a wave of elite materials that he had purchased on the black market last time. Tucker's expression slightly changed. Someone is coming. Immediately, Tucker traveled through a phase and came to the bedroom of the rented cabin. Tucker looked outside along the wall of the bedroom. At first glance, there was no extraordinary person outside. No. Tucker's eyes condensed slightly, and the phase vision was activated. Someone is coming, but not on the real world but the dream world. Dreammaker. Immediately, Tucker spread a wool blanket beside the bed, and then sat on it in a meditative cross-legged manner. Inhale, inhale. In a soothing and quiet state, Tucker used the steam, origin spirit state to slowly fit into the dream world. In the dream world, the situation in Tucker's rented cabin is no different from reality. But the world outside the window is completely different. The black cold moon hangs high. There are constantly weird ashes and fragments falling. The whole world is filled with two boring tones of gray and white. The entire dream world is like snow on a river that is about to freeze. It looks thick, but in fact there are traps everywhere. Once a non-dream supernatural person leaves his own dream and enters the outer dream layer, without the support of his own dream sequence and the support of the supernatural dream environment, his own dream body will easily get lost, or even sink into the depths of the ash nightmare. The Saintland ecosystem supports the supernatural world ecology of multiple domains. The Dark Sun ecology constructed by the Dark Sun Church also pollutes the supernatural world ecology of multiple domains. The Great Barrier is a vast and admirable existence. The barrier built on the basis of the iron coupling source wall plus silver holy wall can still play an effect even in the dream world and can block the invasion of dreams. Even without such means, if someone dares to invade Tucker's dream, Tucker can clearly sense it. After all, the soul rune of the four-ring state is not ordinary powerful. At this time, outside Tucker's dream hut, which symbolizes the defense of dreams, a 45-level 4th-order dream maker is parked outside Tucker's dream hut with a 26-level 2nd-order dream maker. Senior, this wizard's dream door cannot be opened. After repeated attempts, the 26th-level dream maker who still could not open the door looked at the 45th-level dream maker helplessly. Although this wizard has concealed his level and looks like he's level 21, he is actually only level 23. Generally speaking, the ordinary dream defense methods of wizards are about 60% of their level. That is to say, this 23rd level wizard, his dream defense ability is only level 13 or 14, at most level 15. It is difficult to defend against the dream door ability of a dream maker of the same level. Even if a more powerful wizard has a dream defense ability of 80%, he can't stop you. After all, your level is 26, which is much higher than the opponent. After a lecture, the level 45 dream maker stepped forward and was about to use his dream door method to open Tucker's dream. The defensive power of the barrier built by Tucker in the dream lair can naturally resist the invasion of this level 45 dream maker. But that would be exposed. When the level 45 dream maker used the dream door method, Tucker cooperated with the other party silently. Click. Tucker's dream was open with a bang. Look, isn't this simple? You have to practice harder after you go back, don't you understand? Understood, Senior. You are very talented in dreams, and you may go further than me in the future. The 4th-level dream maker who likes to preach has been steadily showing his characteristics. While opening Tucker's dream door, the power of the 4th-level dream maker to construct dreams radiated. Tucker, who is in a semi-dream state, was quickly pulled into the depths of the dream. In the bedroom, Tucker looked at his dream spirit in the dream realm, which was becoming more and more solid, and he couldn't help but marvel at it. This 4th-level dream maker still has some tricks. In the small living room, the 4th-level dream maker began to preach to the 2nd-level dream maker again. Be careful, wizards are a more threatening existence in the same sequence. If we make two extraordinary moves in their dream world, it may even threaten them. They will notice it quickly. Because we construct dreams to pull wizards into dreams. Therefore, they can also exert amazing strength in dreams. Although we won't get hurt, it's not good to be embarrassed. Besides, wizards hold grudges. If they use divination, searching and other means to find us in reality, it won't just be humiliating, but life-threatening. Soon, the two dream makers entered Tucker's bedroom. What's your name? Using some kind of dream mantra, the 4th-level dream maker began to interrogate Tucker in the dream without hesitation. Obviously, in his opinion, as a 4th-level dream maker, it was easy for him to control a 2nd-level wizard. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 170 Underground Black Market. Andre Lavin. Tucker, who was in a hazy dream state, said with a slightly stiff sentence. Andre Lavin. The 4th-level dream maker was stunned. Isn't your name Andre Lamour? Andre Lamour is the name I used to disguise myself as a Lamour staff member. Because that way I can get the official identity of Saint Land. Then how do you have such an authentic Lamour accent? I have been herding sheep in Black River Valley and Lamour for many years. I know the accents of both sides. In order to pretend to be a resident of Lamour, I deliberately used the accent of Lamour. Then how did you deceive the sheriffs of Saint Land to interrogate with their true eyes? The 4th-level dream maker's eyes narrowed slightly, and he became a little alert. My second uncle's eldest cousin serves as the law enforcement officer of Saint Land City Defense. That day, it was my eldest cousin who interrogated me. The 4th-level dream maker was stunned. During this period, they received a mission to investigate a mysterious blasphemer. The investigators at the bottom will submit the information they have investigated to the higher-ups for analysis. After the analysis is completed, they will let the dream makers come out for dream interrogation. If they find that they cannot invade the dream, they will submit it to the higher-ups, and the strong ones will come down to investigate. This time, the guy Andre Lamour they found was still quite promising. But this guy is a fake. He is obviously from the Black River Valley, but he pretends to be from Saint Land to directly reap the benefits of his identity. This is simply fleecing Saint Land. It would be fine if you fleeced Saint Land, but you deceived them. This bastard. The 4th level dream maker's eyes twitched. Are you a steam wizard? The 4th level dream wizard did not hide anything and began to interrogate him in depth. I really want to be a steam wizard. My cousin told me that as long as I work hard for 500 years, I will have a chance to buy a steam sequence collar. Work hard for 500 years. The young 2nd level dream maker on the side almost laughed. But he was glared at by the 4th level dream maker and held back. Then do you know Wizard Tucker? The blasphemer Wizard Tucker? Everyone in Saint Lander knows him. Damn it. I asked if you know Wizard Tucker, not if you know Wizard Tucker. No. Tucker responded with a dull tone and expression. He was completely immersed in the state of the other party's dream compilation. After a detailed inquiry in many aspects, the 4th level dream maker finally gave up further questioning of the 2nd level wizard in front of him. This guy is just a fool who lives a life of idleness and waits for death. He actually has less than 100 magic gold in his pocket. Well, this guy's cousin is a law enforcement officer of Saint Land, and she is a 4th level law enforcement officer. Forget it, don't touch this guy's magic gold. It's risky and not worth it. Fortunately, he has a very good cousin, otherwise, in this cannibalistic Saint Land, this guy's bones would be broken by others. After a round of interrogation, the 4th level dream maker shook his head. If I had a cousin who treated me so well, maybe I could have been promoted to the 5th level now. As the 2 dream makers left, Tucker, who had left the dream lair, woke up slowly. The dream consciousness driven by the 4th level dream maker told Tucker to forget what happened in the dream. But that method didn't work on Tucker at all. Whether it was Tucker's own red flame dragon scales dream resistance ability, or the natural strong uniqueness of Tucker's steam sequence, or Tucker's powerful steam wizard ecology, even the last 4-ring soul rune ring can also offset the interference of the dream maker's dream memory. As a wizard, Tucker has many abilities to resist such means as dreams. As I become more proficient and in-depth in the use of steam, origin, spiritual state and precision, correction. As long as I don't actively drive the steam sequence, others can't find my steam sequence at all. With the means of ordinary wizards, my strength is also not weak. At least, in the dream layer domain of the 4th level dream maker, I can also hide perfectly. When the 4th level dream maker was exploring Tucker, Tucker was also testing his own hiding ability. I don't know which force these 2 dream makers belong to. They are obviously not contaminated by the dark sun. There is no malice, more of a simple investigation. Well, that 4th level dream maker has some bad intentions. I didn't even think of asking for some gifts from you, but you actually want to make money from me. If there is no effective way to make money, even a strong middle-level supernatural being may not be rich. The middle-level supernatural needs a lot of supernatural materials. But no matter what, there must be a mysterious organization behind these 2 dream makers, or people from the Dark Sun Church. They are currently investigating and it is not convenient to take action. As long as they are not discovered, they will win. When there is a chance, I can slowly investigate. Tucker also knew that he still had to hide first. If he could not take action, he would try not to destroy his current identity. At the same time, with his current identity, Tucker could fish continuously. Slowly investigate some of the Dark Sun Church's forces hidden in Saint Land. While they were investigating Tucker, Tucker was also investigating them in this way. After confirming that the 2 dream makers had left, Tucker went out as usual. In the hidden corner downstairs, Tucker passed through a phase and entered the secret room. About 2 hours later, after Tucker finished tempering a batch of elite materials in his hand, Tucker passed through quietly. Then Tucker quickly disappeared at the end of the alley. With the advent of the war after Saint Lander launched the Steam Lighthouse project, the Tree Heart City was relatively deserted. But the underground city was not deserted, but became more and more lively. In the Tree Heart City, under the eyes of order and law, if you want to open a door and do business formally, you need a clean identity, complete store procedures, a storefront that can attract customers, and even you need to recruit a good-looking and eloquent waitress. Occasionally, you will encounter some stupid guys who don't have eyes. You can obviously wake up the other party with a slap, but you have to pretend to be a grandson to make the other party happy, otherwise the other party will go to the street business law enforcement department to complain. For minor cases, it takes 3 to 5 days to rectify, which is time-consuming and laborious. For serious cases, it is fined and a month's work is in vain. But in the black market, there are not so many troubles. You only need a piece of rag and a sign. For those idiots. Buy if you want, buy if you don't want, get out, and you don't have to indulge the other party's bad temper. Of course. There are also many disadvantages. There is no security guarantee in the black market. It is common to lose your life while selling goods. Of course. There are also rules in the underground city black market. When setting up stalls in the streets outside, thieves and scouts can touch the stalls. But in the black market, it is not allowed. Once discovered, it is to chop off your hands. Chop off your hands on the spot. And chop off your hands with a blunt axe. One axe will break an arm. Then, in front of everyone, feed your hands to those bloodthirsty gladiator creatures. It is a very bloody and cruel practice. But this is the rule of the black market. Except for those who are really powerful or don't know the way, they will set up stalls outside. Generally speaking, they will set up stalls in the black market. At least, there won't be a group of people suddenly coming to watch, and when the people dispersed, nothing was left on the stall. Star Trek Market. This is one of the few black markets managed by people in the St. Lander underground city. Tucker had been here twice before. He was quite familiar with the rules here. After paying 5 magic golds, Tucker, who was in a semi-transparent state, like a shadow, got a small stall that was not remote but also had little traffic. He used puppet silk threads to anchor more than a dozen second-level elite materials to the stall. Tucker sat cross-legged behind the stall quietly, waiting quietly. As a refiner, Tucker must have his own shipping channel. Opening a store by himself would only cause trouble for himself. The black market. Without a doubt, it is a very good place. And there are many rich people here. In addition, the information density here is very high. Werewolves, vampires, extraordinary people with the power of the dark sun pollution, and some wanted criminals and other extraordinary people are all here. In this place where light and darkness intersect, it is easier to understand the state of the confrontation between the Dark Sun Church and St. Rand. Of course, Tucker came here for a more important purpose. The Star Trek Market Supernatural Exchange meeting, which only opens once every Ash cycle, is about to begin. Tucker came mainly for this reason. Chapter 171 Extraordinary People Exchange Meeting. Before he knew it, half an hour had passed. During this time, some extraordinary people came to ask about the second-level fine materials in front of Tucker's booth. But after asking about the price, all of them shook their heads. Tucker didn't care much about this. Tucker was selling top-level fine materials. Ordinary extraordinary people couldn't tell the difference between these top-level fine materials and ordinary refined fine materials. Not long after, a masked extraordinary person in front of Tucker, whose sequence was perfectly concealed and converged, stopped. "My friend, the second-level fine materials I bought from you last time were very good. Do you have any third-level fine materials here?" The voice of the masked extraordinary person was a little hoarse, and he obviously changed his voice. Tucker silently examined the masked extraordinary person in front of him. Last time, this mysterious masked extraordinary person did buy several second-level materials. It seems that he has tasted the sweetness of the materials in Tucker's hands, and this time he actually wants to buy third-level fine materials. For those who have strength and talent and want to be promoted to the second or third level, they generally choose the 1+2 form. That is, the main material is the leader-level material, and the 2 auxiliary materials are elite materials. In this way, the danger level will not be so high, and the strength after promotion is also guaranteed. If you have higher talent and stronger strength, you can choose the 2+1 form. That is, 2 leader-level materials plus 1 elite material. And like Tucker, using 3 leader-level materials to be promoted. It is undoubtedly a genius among geniuses, and the top of the top. The strength of the soul, the strength of the body, and the strength of the source energy are all fully guaranteed. Tucker can easily suppress the transcendents who are 1 level higher than him. The role played by these foundation materials is irreplaceable. But for the vast majority of transcendents with strength and financial resources, they will be promoted in a 1+2 way. A good elite material is also indispensable. There are 3 level fine materials, But, a little expensive. How much is it? The masked transcendent asked. Starting at 1,500 magic gold. Tucker's voice had the unique reverberation of the shadow dimension. The price obviously made the masked superhuman stiffen slightly. Obviously, this price was a bit shocking. The general third-level fine products only cost about 300 to 500 magic gold, which was not cheap. This 1,500 magic gold was almost one-third or even half of the price of the third-level leader-level materials. Many powerful superhumans would basically spend all their money to advance to the leader level, which was not an exaggeration at all. Do you have any top-level soul elite materials? The man asked after hesitating for a moment. Level 38 elite centaur soul crystals from the Arctic wasteland. Level 37 elite soul crystals from the ocean wailing mermaid. Also, level 38 sky griffin soul crystals from the meteorite area. The price is around 1,800 magic gold. I can give you a discount of 50 magic gold for the level 37 one. Since Tucker was selling fine materials. Naturally, the materials purchased were all top-grade materials from the same level of extraordinary people. Tucker would select the material grade, extraordinary characteristics, quality of the materials, etc. Can I take a look? The man asked in thought. Sure. Tucker fumbled in the extraordinary bracelet for a while and took out the 38th level Centaur Elite Soul Crystal from the Arctic wasteland. Taking this 38th level Elite Soul Extraordinary Crystal, the extraordinary person observed it carefully. He himself also knew a lot of knowledge and techniques of refining materials, and he was even a first-level alchemist. When carefully observing this 38th level Elite Soul Crystal, the man only felt that his soul was much calmer. There were no perceptible negative characteristics, harmful ingredients, and some impurities in it. As for those invisible parts, they need to be tested and verified through some special techniques, such as spiritual perception, frequency matching, special characteristic vision, etc. However, the man repeatedly verified it with his own various means and did not feel anything strange. In other words, this fine material is very close to the theoretical, perfect harmless, material. There is no danger after taking it. As long as you have enough foundation, you can easily complete the advancement. Before, his sister used the materials he bought to advance and explained to him the magic of this material. After returning the materials to Tucker, the masked man looked at Tucker and asked, "Can I reserve this material first? I don't have so much magic gold in my hand." "No problem." Tucker nodded silently. Those who buy such high-priced materials are big customers, so they can naturally be treated more preferentially. I will appear in this Star Trek market during the days when each round of the ash cycle changes. Tucker roughly set a time for himself to come to the black market. But he only gave a rough range and did not determine the date. "Then will you take over the refining of the leader-level materials?" Seeing that Tucker was different from those weird-tempered refiners and looked more amiable, the masked man asked again. Tucker's eyes narrowed slightly when he heard this. Many extraordinary people who get powerful leader-level materials will definitely not sell them casually. They will keep the suitable ones for their own use, and the unsuitable ones will be kept for barter. But no matter what, unless these leader-level materials are used to make weapons, as long as they are taken, they must find extraordinary people such as alchemists, forgers, or refiners to refine the materials. Refining leader-level materials is risky. Even forging alchemy experts like Baggins will not easily undertake such materials. Even if they undertake it, they will not deeply refine it. After removing the visible impurities, they will not touch the deep impurities. If this kind of material is scrapped, losing money is a small matter. If it goes wrong, your life will be lost. After all, can ordinary people get leader-level materials? As Tucker intends to make money by using the means of refiners, he will naturally not miss such an opportunity. It depends on the quality of the leader material. Tucker said slowly and methodically. We don't accept materials above the 4th level, only those at the 4th level and below. And the prices vary slightly depending on the degree of quenching. Ordinary refining, 10% handling fee, deep refining 20% handling fee, perfect refining 40% handling fee. Tucker's words immediately made the masked man slightly happy. For general forging refiners, there are two types of refining for leader-level materials, ordinary refining and deep refining. And the refiner in front of him has the amazing ability of perfect refining. Even in the alchemy methods such as Saint Land, he has only heard of them, but has never really encountered them. This is an extremely rare opportunity. After asking again and agreeing with Tucker on the approximate time of the next meeting, the masked man left with satisfaction. Tucker thought for a while and restrained his gaze. His identity as a refiner can completely appear in the form of shadow state. Moreover, Tucker has 2 shadow rune ring staffs. 1 ordinary shadow rune ring staff. 1 ring state shadow rune ring staff. Switching between different shadow states can also better conceal Tucker's own identity. In general, in this underground black market, Tucker is not worried about his identity being leaked. He just needs to pay attention to his own safety. Continuing to maintain the shadow state, Tucker silently guarded his stall. At the same time, Tucker was quietly comprehending the mysteries of the shadow runes. Anyway, sitting here idle is idle. Compared with top-level A-level extraordinary talents like Xyluer and Blang, they need a very perfect, safe and quiet environment to be able to touch the understanding of the mysteries of the classics. And Tucker comprehends the mysteries of the runes, just sitting here, simple and easy. When in the shadow state for a long time, the strange vein dimension in the corner of Tucker's eyes began to distort, and the color was quickly extracted. The world vaguely has a tendency to gradually freeze. Tucker gradually fell into the dimension of the shadow layer. Even in the shadow dimension area, many shadow creatures began to gather towards Tucker. They felt that the living shadows were about to fall, and this was a rare moment for them to enjoy a feast. Using the power of shadows for a long time would eventually bury them in the shadows. This was the price. Just when many shadow creatures thought they could enjoy a delicious dinner, a demon wolf leader with a huge outline and a ferocious and violent aura suddenly rushed out from somewhere. The demon wolf leader devoured these first-order and second-order shadow creatures who wanted to enjoy a sumptuous dinner one by one. It was indeed a sumptuous dinner, but they themselves were the dinner being eaten. In a short while, the shadow demon wolf leader ate most of the shadow creatures that gathered around him. Then the shadow flame demon wolf leader in the shadow dimension whimpered to Tucker twice, and then left quickly. With the end of the shadow falling, Tucker's perception gradually left the shadow dimension. Perception returned to normal. The world at the corner of the eye was no longer distorted, and the color saturation was the same as before. With the shadow flame wolf leader of the shadow dimension, Tucker didn't need to deal with those small negative costs by himself. The shadow wolf could help Tucker deal with them cleanly. And this was the 3rd time. At this moment, ling, ling, ling. In the spirit world, the spiritual clock rang. Ordinary transcendence naturally couldn't hear it. At least mid-level transcendence, or powerful transcendence with the talent of walking in the spirit world, could hear it. As the bell of the spirit world rang, the gathering of transcendence in the spiritual world of the Star Trek market began. Just at the threshold of the spirit world, a large number of transcendents were eliminated. In this underground city black market, the specifications of the transcendent exchange meeting of the Star Trek market are still relatively high. Tucker stood up and packed up his stall, and gathered towards the exchange meeting venue of the spirit world. Chapter 172 4-star spell. In the tree heart layer and tower layer of Saint Land, the spiritual world layers, there are all officially controlled layers. Ordinary extraordinary people are not allowed to enter the spiritual world layer at will. But in the underground city area, there are no restrictions in this regard. The underground city originally belonged to the underground layer domain, and the outline of the spiritual world layer should also belong to the underground city mode. But the spiritual world layer that Tucker entered was obviously very different from the terrain outline of the underground city. When looking from the outside, Tucker didn't think there was anything weird about this underground spiritual world layer. But after entering, he found that what he saw was very different from what he experienced in person. The darkness filled Tucker's vision like sticky blood, and even wanted to completely drown Tucker. The tentacles of darkness were everywhere. Just as Tucker was watching, several grotesque tentacles that came out of nowhere, with the effect of soul stun, hit Tucker's back. If it were really an ordinary first-level or second-level extraordinary person, I'm afraid he would really be knocked out by these grotesque dark tentacles. Unfortunately, Tucker was wearing a ring-shaped red flame dragon scale armor. The dark tentacle hit Tucker's back. SHH. The hot flame directly ignited the dark tentacle, and a painful roar came from the darkness. After repeated several times, the darkness with a certain ecological spirituality sensed that Tucker, who had rashly entered this fresh breath, was not a good person to mess with, and the dark power did not dare to approach. This darkness has become his spirit. Tucker couldn't help but shook his head secretly. Whether in Lamore or in the Tower of Saint Land, When Tucker was studying the supernormal ecology chapter, the main chapters mention that the ecology itself has external repulsion and the ecology itself is dangerous. But Tucker had never encountered it. And this time, it was an eye-opener. Looking around, there were sparks all around. Some supernormal people who entered the spiritual world also held up their own lanterns or lanterns. The light dispelled the darkness and formed small light shelter areas. These lights flowed towards the outline of a door in the distance like a stream in the darkness. The shadow behind Tucker also stretched out a slender shadow tentacle. Tucker hung up the lantern and flicked his finger. The light of the nightmare kerosene bomb bloomed slightly, stretching out the surrounding darkness. The ground was full of pits and potholes, with large and small puddles of blood. The dripping blood from the eaves was also blood. Stepping on it, the surface of the blood pit was like solid ground. The ecology of the Blood Clan castle has affected and infiltrated into the underground city area. As he followed the crowd and walked forward, Tucker glanced at the sky. Although it was just a slight glance, a slight tingling sensation quickly spread. The outline of the dark sun was clearly visible. The power of darkness is complementing the Blood Clan ecology on the ground. The spiritual world of St. Land's underground city is being eroded by the dark sun. And this is also the reason why St. Land is going to build a steam lighthouse in Celians. Just like magic can defeat magic, ecology can fight ecology. When Tucker arrived at the outline of the 10-meter-high door, he discovered that two nearly 10-meter-high ogres were squatting on the left and right beside the gate of the spirit realm, and their levels were all above level 50. The level 50 ogre leader had already completed the transformation to the extraordinary state. The ogre skin with extremely strong magic immunity made Tucker's eyes twitch. Such a big guy, Tucker might not be able to beat him. There are still many powerful extraordinary creatures in the extraordinary world. Tucker always maintains awe for the mysterious extraordinary world. The behind-the-scenes controller of the Star Trek market is said to be a 6th-level peak steam spirit knight, with amazing strength. This is how he can steadily control the market of this underground city. Of course, it is certainly difficult for a single person to manage such a large underground black market. The members of the Star Trek Monastic Society are the behind-the-scenes managers of the Star Trek market. Using the black card that Xyluer gave him, Tucker easily passed through the gate of the spiritual realm. Just as Tucker expected. This is a small layer domain gate, reinforced with a small world of the underground world seal layer. Although it is just a simple reinforcement, it can still limit Tucker's phase walking magical power to a great extent. The power of the seal naturally restrains all means of passing through. The internal space is not very large, and it is more like a gathering place for an evening auction banquet. Tucker roughly glanced at the number of extraordinary people who came in, about 60 to 70 people. This number is already a lot. For a normal extraordinary exchange meeting, having 20 to 30 people is already quite good. Almost every extraordinary person who entered used various means to conceal his identity. After all, this is a black market, not a regular chamber of commerce. The extraordinary people who entered took their seats. The entire exchange venue was silent. Not long after, the large curtain on the curtain ceremony stage suddenly came alive. The outline of a human face quickly emerged. As the huge human face outline spoke, the voice swept the whole venue. Each extraordinary person who comes on stage needs to pay 100 magic gold. Whether you want to sell your own items or seek the resources you need, it's all fine. If you want to chat privately, just enter the secret contract hut next to it. It only costs a small amount of magic gold. If you encounter some good things that you are not sure about, we will help you establish a fair contract, but it will cost extra. The exchange meeting of the Star Trek market has always been fair and just. Friends who have come here in the past know this. Friends in need, you can go on stage. As the curtain returned to normal. Soon, a red-headed extraordinary swordsman wearing a mask, who looked only level 9 and wearing an ordinary gray-white windbreaker, paid 100 magic gold and stepped onto the curtain ceremony platform. I want to buy a steam sequence collar. I wonder if anyone present has such resources. The red-haired man's voice was not loud enough, but it was loud enough for everyone in the audience to hear. At this time, a hoarse voice that seemed to be quite familiar with the Star Trek exchange meeting sounded. You should go to the tower to ask about this kind of thing, not here. Besides, even if there is one, you need to exchange positions first, and then bid for it, instead of just asking for it and swallowing up that kind of resource. Exchange. It is a professional term in the extraordinary exchange meeting. Someone is looking for a certain top-level resource, which is exactly what everyone wants. And someone happens to sell this kind of resource. It will definitely not be yours if you come on stage first. Instead, the extraordinary who has the top-level resource comes on stage and bids for it. Whoever has the money will get it. Like steam cores, leader-level materials, and even lord-level materials. These are often resources that everyone needs, and buying them is definitely impossible. Only by exchanging positions and bidding can it be possible. The masked man was obviously unwilling to give up. He asked twice more, and after confirming that no one had this kind of resource, he walked down a little dejected. Tucker glanced at the extraordinary swordsman and retracted his gaze. The control of steam cores at the tower is still very strict. There are not many steam cores that have been lost outside. Tucker's demand for steam cores is not that strong now, so he is not in a hurry to buy steam cores. Compared with steam cores, Tucker is more concerned about the leader-level materials of the light sequence. The rarity of this kind of material is no less than that of steam cores. After the red-haired man, more and more extraordinary people came to the stage to buy resources, or took out good things for many extraordinary people to bid. Tucker participated in the gathering of extraordinary people for the first time. Naturally, he carefully observed the situation around him. He even participated in the bidding occasionally, but he was mainly for participation. And many of the things these extraordinary people took out were indeed good things. After about 7 or 8 extraordinary people. At this time, an older extraordinary person stepped onto the curtain ceremony platform. 4-star, slightly damaged rune spell seeds. As the hoarse and turbid voice of the older extraordinary person sounded, the people who were not very energetic at first suddenly became energetic one by one. They all looked at the curtain ceremony platform. 4-star rune spell seeds are very rare. Even if the seed was slightly damaged, as long as it could be learned, it would be a rare and powerful 4-star rune spell, second only to the level of forbidden spell. After attracting everyone's attention, the old extraordinary person slowly began to narrate. 4-star rune spell, rune soul curtain shadow. You need to master the secrets of soul rune or shadow rune. You only need to comprehend and master any one of them before you can cast it, but this will put a lot of pressure on the soul. And this is exactly the disadvantage of this spell. If you comprehend the secrets of shadow rune and soul rune, then congratulations, this witchcraft has no disadvantages for you. Of course, if you don't comprehend the secrets of one of these two runes, you can also use the shadow ring staff or the soul ring staff to force it. But it's okay to use it occasionally for a small number of times. High density and long-term practical use will cause your spirit to become distorted and out of control, and even cause soul cracks, damage to the extraordinary ecology, etc. When you feel that you are a little abnormal, just stop driving it. 4-star spells are not like 3-star spells. 3-star spells can be carried by a ring staff. But 4-star spells require a very solid foundation and a strong extraordinary talent. From the prerequisites of this powerful 4-star rune spell explained by the old extraordinary, everyone felt the power of this 4-star rune witchcraft. Soul curtain. Through the spell ritual, recruit the dead souls. Of course, the newly dead souls are better. As for direct living sacrifice, the old extraordinary smiled. That is the most perfect ritual sacrifice. What the old extraordinary said did not cause anyone at the exchange meeting to discuss anything. It seemed, this is very common in the black market. Use the dead souls and their dead falling shadows to compile your own rune soul curtain. As for the magical uses of this rune soul curtain, I think, the spellcasters who have ideas about this 4-star witchcraft don't want me to explain it. As soon as these words came out, Tucker could feel that there were several extraordinary people in the venue who were in the shadow state like him, or who were using shadow robes and covered by shadow gray mist, and they seemed to have made sufficient preparations. The starting price is 10,000 magic gold. The old extraordinary person set the bidding price quickly and efficiently. Chapter 173 Information on the materials of the Leader of Light. 11,000 magic gold. 12,000 magic gold. 15,000 magic gold. The cheapest 3-star rune spells are 5 or 6,000, and the most expensive ones are tens of thousands. As for the 4-star witchcraft, it goes without saying that the transaction price will definitely not be less than 20,000. As for how high it is, Tucker is not sure. However, this spell is damaged, and it puts a lot of pressure on the soul. It still has a certain deterrent effect. Soul Rune Secret. Shadow Rune Secret. This is no problem for me. Tucker narrowed his eyes, fumbled with his palms, and his brain quickly worked on his current situation. The level can be further improved, and it is no problem to even directly improve to level 29. Let go of some of those shadow demon wolves. It should, probably, maybe. I can bear this 4-star rune. At the very least, it's not impossible to learn it after I reach level 30. After all, this is a 4-star rune witchcraft, which is more powerful than a 3-star rune. Since I have encountered it, I can't miss it. When Tucker raised his head, 18,000 magic gold. A steady and heavy voice sounded. 19,000 magic gold. This was a female superhuman. Such a high price discouraged many superhumans. After hesitating for a moment, Tucker simply spoke. 25,000 magic gold. As Tucker shouted the price, many superhumans looked at Tucker. Superhumans who can take out more than 20,000 magic gold are not ordinary people. Not far away, the female spellcaster in a white robe couldn't help but glance at Tucker slightly. After a moment, the female spellcaster who retracted her gaze quoted a higher price. 26,000 magic gold. 30,000 magic gold. As soon as the other party quoted the price, Tucker once again directly crushed the other party with a higher price. The high price of 30,000 magic gold. Even for those very powerful superhumans, it is a huge sum of money. For a time, the entire superhuman exchange hall was full of discussions. Many eyes gathered on Tucker. But all they saw was a dark shadow as deep as the sea of stars. The female spellcaster in the white robe not far away thought for a moment, and seemed to have given up, and did not bid again. The 4-star witchcraft is indeed powerful, but the disadvantage of putting huge pressure on the soul is not something that ordinary extraordinary people can bear. After waiting for a moment and confirming that no one else is bidding high, this 4-star powerful rune witchcraft was sold for 30,000 magic gold. The extraordinary exchange meeting continued. In the secret contract hut on the side of the curtain ceremony platform, Tucker and the old extraordinary are completing the transaction. The old extraordinary, wearing a wide-brimmed black hat and a gray beard, is wearing a woolen shirt inside and a brown-black jacket outside. He is counting the magic gold given by Tucker. While counting, he muttered quietly, "It's really troublesome that Syrian doesn't promote paper money. Many supernatural worlds have promoted the paper money issued by the Three-Eyed Divine Kingdom. Simple, convenient and fast. Then again, Syrian has blocked the world channel so tightly." The old supernatural shook his head. Tucker quietly held a fist-sized, slightly cracked, 4th-level rune spell seed in his hand and felt it carefully. After a long time, Tucker slowly opened his eyes. It is a little broken, but it's not a big problem. In fact, through upgrading and continuous use, it can still be repaired. The premise for repairing it is that I have the secrets of the Soul Rune and the Shadow Rune, so that I can complete the repair. Without these 2 rune secrets, repair will hammer. In addition, the carrying capacity required for this 4-star rune power is really huge. This kind of witchcraft is originally for mid-level and high-level extraordinary people to learn and master. Even if I have the power of the Dark Sea of Origin and the Great Barrier to strengthen my ecology, I have already learned 2 3-star witchcrafts and a large number of other witchcrafts, and I still want to learn 4th-level witchcraft. Well, it's really a bit reluctant. But it's not impossible. During this period, slowly improve the level a little, and absorb some of the barrier power of the Silver Holy Wall by the way. It's almost enough. But this method of extreme ecological exploitation is only a temporary solution. Finding the light materials as soon as possible, and then using the lighthouse to advance is the right way. Besides, the enemy can't guess that I can advance so quickly. The main point is to catch the enemy by surprise. It seems that there are only 3 or 4 months left before the promotion to the 2nd level. The Dragon Crystal, which is the main material of life, is a powerful Lord level. The light material, whether it is soul or source energy, will do. Then find a leader level material as a partner. I will be able to complete the promotion to the 3rd level. Just as Tucker was thinking about it, across from him, the old extraordinary man wearing a black wide-brimmed hat slowly spoke. "Young man, how about this stuff?" "Okay." Tucker nodded without any expression. The old extraordinary man looked Tucker up and down before speaking. "The shadow state is pretty good, but it's best not to stay in the shadow state for a long time. Those damn shadow creatures will constantly sneak attack you. When I was young, I also used shadow combat boots for a while. The effect is really good. Deserts, swamps, rivers, you can just step on the surface and go straight through. I can trot all the way to the top of the snow-capped mountain along the steep rock wall. I even raced with those undead creatures on the surface of the ocean. Have you heard of the 9 demon seas? I've heard of them. Tucker nodded. The 9 demon seas are 9 deep-sea pirate captains who control powerful ecological sea demon ships. They are all extremely powerful high-level extraordinary people with many pirates under their command. Not only will they rob merchant ships in the East China Sea, but they will also sneak attack extraordinary island city-states. At the same time, they also keep up with the times and feed the sea demon ships. Flight characteristics. Install source energy steam engines on the sea demon ships and build flying fish wings for the sea demon ships. Then drive the sea demon ships to the star track. They will also rob those spiritual world steam trains on the world star track. Today's 9 demon seas, not only will the Principality of Syrian besiege them, but even the Sun Rock Empire and the East Continent hate them. Back then, I participated in the encirclement and suppression of the 9 demon seas. That, General Cold Snake, the old extraordinary said with great pride. General Lensch? That's been a while. Tucker raised his eyebrows. Well, your knowledge of extraordinary studies is really good. The old extraordinary smiled. It's been a while indeed. And that pair of shadow boots has accompanied me for many years. Until the coming of the shadow disaster. The old extraordinary shook his head with a sigh. That year, when I broke through and was promoted, those damn shadow creatures ambushed me and interrupted my promotion ceremony. I was forced to fall into coma. When I woke up, my 2 legs below the knees and the shadow boots had disappeared. Although the priest helped me install new legs, it also left an impact. That damn shadow curse, thinking back now, is still a nightmare. Listen to my advice to the young people, use the shadow ring less. Otherwise, the shadow will bury your soul. Tucker's eyes narrowed slightly and he fumbled with his palms. Is there a possibility that I just want to get closer to the shadow, so I use this thing every day? I'll be careful. Tucker is still very good at listening to other people's opinions. Of course, whether to adopt them or not is another matter. As the transaction was completed, Tucker returned to the exchange venue again. During the transaction, Tucker also paid attention to the situation outside. If there were really important resources that Tucker needed, Tucker would naturally come out as soon as possible. But during this period, there was no one. Time passed by minute, and people came on stage one after another. Either the transaction was completed, or no one was interested. Many transactions were quite good things. When almost no one wanted to rush up, Tucker paid 100 magic gold and went up. I want to find a 3rd level leader level soul or source energy material containing light characteristics. If anyone has such a material, it would be great, and the price will satisfy you. If you can provide accurate and specific information, the reward will not be small. As Tucker's voice floated in the venue, no one responded for a while. After waiting for a moment and confirming that there should be no such information, Tucker shook his head and was about to step down. A slightly stiff voice sounded. I have information in this regard. If you want to know, you can go to the secret hut to discuss it in detail. Chapter 174 Plan to rob the Chamber of Commerce. Inside the secret covenant hut, Tucker silently examined the man in front of him who could provide him with materials for the leader of the light. He had half-long curly hair in the style of Saint Land. He wore a black cotton shirt inside and extraordinary armor like an ordinary dress coat outside. This kind of method of combining extraordinary armor with the clothes worn will increase the price of extraordinary armor by about 20% again. Generally, only respectable people in Saint Land would do this. Tucker, on the other hand, wore a gray-white wizard robe directly on his body. The man was wearing a demon mask, and his age could not be seen, but from his temperament, he could be seen to be in his 30s. Nowadays, Tucker generally tried to restrain his precise vision as much as possible. He judged other extraordinary people through perception, experience, action, form, breath, etc. These things can reflect many things of an extraordinary person in more detail. Relying too much on a single shortcut of talent is a dangerous thing. When Tucker looked at the man was also looking at Tucker. After feeling that it was about the same, the man then sat up slightly and tapped the wall of the secret hut next to him. A very special layer of power quickly formed on the inner wall of the secret hut. The two were completely isolated from the outside world. After doing all this, the man looked at Tucker again. Before we officially start the conversation, I have a few questions. I hope Mr. Wizard can answer them truthfully. As a respectable person in Saint Land, the man's tone and tone of voice were slightly different from Tucker's. Okay. Tucker nodded gently. Are you a steam wizard? Yes. Tucker nodded silently. Although there are not many steam wizards in Saint Land, there are some. At least, Tucker saw 2 other steam wizards here today. What is your real level? I have killed many level 30 transcendents, and many level 40 transcendents died in my hands. I also contributed a lot to the battle of the fall of the 5th level transcendent. Tucker did not answer with level, but with strength. Strength is more convincing. The man seemed to have obtained a positive answer by some mysterious means. He smiled a little. Dear wizard, you also know that the resources of light materials are very scarce. This time, the resources of the light leader level are very hidden. And I guarantee that they are resources that will satisfy you, wizard. But, we need to participate in the battle together to get it. Tucker looked at the extremely cautious man in front of him for a moment, and then slowly spoke. Are you going to rob or invade an important place? Sure enough, when Tucker said this, the man was slightly startled, and then nodded gently. You are a smart person. If you are willing to participate in this operation, we will draw up a contract, recruit you, and then participate in the operation together. If you don't want to participate in this operation, our conversation can end here. The man went to the back and waited quietly for Tucker's answer. The man asked about his strength and spoke hesitantly, so Tucker guessed that it might be some illegal actions. After thinking for a while, Tucker asked his own question, is it an action that endangers Saint Land? No. The man said affirmatively. Well, I agree to participate. Tucker nodded slightly. Seeing that Tucker agreed to participate, the man smiled gently. In that case, please complete the signing of this demon witness contract. After signing, I will tell you all the contents of the plan. The binding force of the demon contract on powerful extraordinary people is unquestionable. But the binding force on Tucker is only a little stronger than waste paper. After gradually examining the demon contract that the man took out and confirming that there was no big problem, Tucker dripped a drop of blood and fell on the contract scroll. Under Tucker's annotation, the man also drips blood. With a blooming of the blood-colored halo, the contract was officially signed. After the contract was signed, the two sat down again. Tucker clearly felt that the other party's vigilance against him had decreased slightly. Of course, whether it is true or not is worth discussing. Even now, Tucker is not sure whether what the other party said is true. After all, there are many similar evasive means in the mysterious supernatural science. Or, what the other party said is true, but there is another plan. Just before, Tucker had just spent 30,000 magic gold to buy a powerful 4-star witchcraft. It is inevitable that someone will be thinking about it. Probably on the next grade 8, or the next grade 8. The man slowly explained. The Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce will activate the steam airship fleet to transport a batch of materials away from Saint Land. As far as we know, there are leader-level resources of light-related materials among them. At that time, there will be many supernaturals who have signed contracts to attack the resources of this batch of caravans. At that time, whether we can get the light resources depends on Mr. Wizard's own means. Specific time and place. We will publish the recruitment order for airship pilots in the small advertisement column of the newspaper one day in advance. Just gather at the tavern in the airship port. Do you have anything else to ask? The man looked at Tucker. Tucker rubbed his eyebrows and then shook his head. In that case, I hope we can all harvest our own resources by then. The man stood up, pinched the brim of his hat, bowed slightly to Tucker, then opened the secret hut and left. His movements were quite neat, without any drag. Robert the airship merchant ship of the Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce. Tucker took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. This is one of the largest chambers of commerce in Celians. I even heard that the background of this chamber of commerce has the shadow of some extraordinary masters of the three-eyed Holy Spirit Kingdom. The Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce itself has a very strong security protection system. There are many strong people who will guard the route. In addition, there is also a complete set of mystical security protection system, which protects the airship and hunts down the bandits who robbed the Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce through various methods such as prophecy, divination, deduction, and backtracking. Generally speaking, No one will easily rob the Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce. But the problem is, the Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce moves a large amount of supplies out. Tucker thought silently. Now is the time when St. Land needs a lot of materials for construction. Many steam trains are transporting materials continuously. When I was drinking in the tavern a few days ago, someone said that the Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce was going to evacuate St. Land. These capital chambers of commerce, when they make money, they all rush over. When they need to contribute, they start to withdraw resources. Want to make a profit? Tucker fumbled with his fingers. Then he must break his legs first. And the man just now looked like he was not afraid of the investigation of the Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce at all. I'm afraid there may be a war between several major commercial chambers of commerce. Is this a simple and high-end business war? Or does St. Land want to knock on the Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce? After thinking about it for a while, he gradually calmed down. Today's St. Land is a complex mixture of various situations. All Tucker has to do is to steadily improve his own strength in this complex situation. Not long after, Tucker returned to the exchange venue again. At this time, about a quarter of the extraordinary people in the venue had left, having obtained the powerful 4-star sorcery. At the same time, he learned the information about the materials of the Leader of Light. Tucker did not delay any longer. He stood up and walked towards the portal. When Tucker just left through the portal, 3 extraordinary people also stood up one after another and left the venue. Silence, deep in the dark passage. 3 third-level extraordinary people quickly moved forward along the passage. Phoebe, are you sure that the Shadow Boy is going all the way here? As he walked forward, the strong man Balin, who was carrying a battle axe and had a magic immunity totem on his body, asked in a low voice. Even if he walked fast, the lantern in his hand was still steady. Yes, the boy's shadow state is very fast. But his shadow power has been locked by my arcane chain. I can keep up with him wherever he runs. The arcane wizard named Phoebe said very confidently. Balin, don't worry, you know Phoebe's methods. The extraordinary swordsman Jeffrey, who was traveling with him, said in a slightly lazy tone. Those guys who have just arrived always think that they can run rampant in the black market of St. Land with a little strength. But they will soon be chopped off by my axe. The next person to speak was the berserker Balin, who was carrying an axe. That's it. The 3 of them were talking and laughing, chasing the new extraordinary wizard who didn't seem to be familiar with the black market. Soon, the 3 of them arrived at the end of this road. Damn, this is a dead end. Seeing the wall blocking the way, the berserker Balin, who led the way, suddenly changed his face. The next moment, he found that his body was shrinking rapidly, and the lantern and weapons fell one after another. Me. Just as he was about to speak, the sound of sheep bleated. No, me. Berserker Balin was horrified. You know, the magic immunity totem rune carved on his body really contains the power of runes. But even so, he was still turned into a sheep by the opponent. The wizard's sheep-turning method was beyond imagination. Zzz. Dense arcs of electricity were instantly thrown behind by the experienced arcane wizard. The passage behind the 2 of them was illuminated by the purple arcs of electricity. A shadow outline had already cut off their way. Almost stepping on the heels of the arcane, the sword light with a golden halo, like the rising sun, fiercely poured into Tucker's front. The swordsman Jeffrey's sword was so fast that it seemed to chase the footsteps of light. After the magic shield, which was not very powerful to begin with, blocked the arcane wizard's arc attack, it could not stop the swordsman's sharp sword light. Die? The swordsman did his best to pour the sword light in. Even if the opponent was in the shadow state, he was confident that he could seriously injure him. The sword-chasing light, specializing in breaking shadows. Clang. A dull sound came from the collision of the sword edges. The swordsman's arm was numb, and the source energy was slightly agitated. Under the shadows that were shattered, a circle of golden light bloomed. The dark golden glazed dragon scales, blessed with the powerful power of the ring rune, emerged clearly. The golden light allowed the swordsman to see clearly what was blocking his sword. At the same time, it also ignited the despair in his heart. The swordsman's face was pale and he lost his voice in horror. Dragon Scales. Chapter 175 Study. When the golden light appeared, blocking the swordsman's blade, and the sound of metal collision was heard, the arcane wizard already felt something was wrong. Wasn't the wizard's shield broken? When the swordsman exclaimed in horror, "Dragon Scales," the arcane wizard Phoebe couldn't help but let out a buzz. In her head, Even the action of casting the spell was half a beat slower. The material was dragon scales, and there were rune fluctuations, but there was no awareness before. This was definitely a ring rune equipment, a top-level extraordinary equipment that fits the body. This kind of powerful extraordinary equipment is not much less valuable than a 4-star arcane rune. Knowing that the wizard in front of him had many means and strong financial resources, the arcane wizard immediately became very alert. Bang! Accompanied by a dull collision sound. The extraordinary swordsman's body had already quickly retreated to the back. The 4th-level cocky earth rune extraordinary battle armor on his body was also revealed. Otherwise, the heavy wind blade just now would have cut off his head. While retreating, the 4th-level extraordinary longsword in the hands of the extraordinary swordsman, which contained a little rune power, slashed in the air one after another, breaking the wind blades that swept in one by one. At this time, a tornado containing rune power and as high as a person appeared in front of Tucker. As the tornado rotated, the wind blades kept whistling and sweeping in. Tucker gradually found a new way to open the spell linkage of the two witchcrafts, micro hurricane and rune hurricane holding. The two overlapped in the same hurricane form. Tucker invested source energy into the micro hurricane to attack witchcraft. He could enjoy the blessing of the rune mystery power of rune hurricane holding. He could also quickly form rune hurricane holding by investing source energy in the micro hurricane. Now it seems that this kind of standing output is particularly effective. Looking at the swordsman with a very good rune sword and rune armor, Tucker couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. This group of extraordinary people dare to rob others, so they have some skills. So, after killing them, the harvest will be very good, and we can recover a wave of blood. Tucker, with his eyes slightly focused, continued to invest source energy, and urged the wind blades more and more fiercely. Hurry up and think of a way. The swordsman who blocked the endless wind blades roared in a low voice. As the swordsman's voice fell, the arcane wizard suddenly opened his hands, and a large amount of source energy opened and closed like a tide. Buzz! The entire underground cave came alive instantly. The rock walls on both sides, like the hands of the arcane wizard, quickly opened and then suddenly slapped and closed towards Tucker's position. With a boom, the cave was shaken, and the entire area shook violently. Together with Tucker and his rune hurricane holder, they were slapped under the palms of the boulder passage. When the passage was slowly opened, Tucker's newly born rune hurricane holder was ultimately unable to withstand the attack of the powerful witchcraft and died on the spot. What about the wizard? Seeing that there was no debris or blood in the passage, the extraordinary swordsman did not relax his sword, but tightened it. Of course, he took 2 steps back and avoided your attack. The voice came from the back corner. Tucker stepped on the sound and appeared. The swordsman was just annoyed that he didn't kill the other party. The arcane wizard's breathing became heavier, and the arm holding the ring staff was trembling slightly. His eyes stared at Tucker, flickering. The previous one was a top-level 2-star witchcraft, and it was supported by his earth rune ring staff. In this underground world, it not only has a powerful destructive ability but also has the property of confinement. The wizard who didn't look high level should have been beaten to death on the spot. But, the other party not only dodged. It looked quite relaxed. He had fought many wizards, but the one who looked so careless and leisurely like the one in front of him was the first one. I originally wanted to capture you alive and sacrifice you to test my new witchcraft. You have rune armor, and you have the means to resist deformation. The arcane wizard behind you is also immune to sheep transformation. You will definitely not agree to persuade me to surrender. Well, living ones are not good, it seems that I can only capture dead ones. After all, that 4-star witchcraft, the freshly dead ones are not bad. Otherwise, your teammate will soon break free from my sheep transformation. Tucker shook his head. This group of people is indeed very powerful. It is a bit troublesome for Tucker to capture them alive. If he can't capture them alive, he can use dead ones. Do it. The swordsman on alert felt that he had caught the opportunity and suddenly shouted in a low voice. However, there was no wave of spell release from the back. Only a bang sound was heard. The sound was very much like a head breaking. The swordsman never looked back, holding the long sword, the tip of the sword pointed forward. At this moment, he vaguely understood the true meaning of living towards death. Even the sword tip vaguely showed the essence of the sword cannon. Bang! Accompanied by a gunshot. The swordsman's body shook slightly, and after rolling on the ground for a few rounds, he rolled to Tucker's feet with blood all the way. He rushed very fast, but he died just as fast. After Tucker broke the all-round defense effect of the extraordinary rune armor with a shield effect, an arcane shot penetrated half of his head and took him away easily. Inject a little wind essence into the arcane shot, the arcane bullet was fast and fierce, and the power rose sharply. Now, Tucker has already mastered the linkage of various witchcrafts. With the blessing of various rune powers, the power of any witchcraft in Tucker's hands cannot be underestimated. It's easier to kill the extraordinary people below level 4 because of their physical weaknesses. It's harder to kill those above level 4. He looked at the extraordinary swordsman who was shot on the head. Then he looked at the arcane wizard whose head was crushed by his rune spirit hand not far away. Tucker cast another sheep transformation on the berserker with a magic immunity totem not far away and began to clean up the battlefield. Magic immunity totem also has strengths and weaknesses. It is judged according to the level, quality, extraordinary characteristics, source energy, etc. of the witchcraft. Tucker's level 29 sheep transformation enjoys the blessing of the 4-ring soul rune mystery. It can still easily restrain the berserker with a magic immunity totem and turn him into a sheep. However, the opponent can also prevent Tucker's sheep transformation from forming a closed loop. In other words, as long as there is enough time, the berserker can still support Tucker's sheep transformation. Soon, the resources of 1 sheep and 2 corpses were all collected by Tucker. About 12,000 to 15,000 magic gold. Very rich, a wave of blood back, not bad, worthy of being a Saintlander's extraordinary. Tucker nodded. Immediately, Tucker looked at the corpse beside him whose blood had not yet dried, and sat down. During this period, I have carefully felt the process of ecological evolution after the level was upgraded, and I have quite a lot of insights. Raise the level to level 29, and then settle for a month or 2, and there will be no problem in upgrading to level 30. Those elite magic wolves of the shadow magic wolf should also be eliminated. As Tucker operated. Soon, Tucker's level and the source of energy source Dark Sea were upgraded to level 29. The contracts of those elite magic wolves were cancelled by Tucker one by one. After doing all this, Tucker took out the seed of the 4-star rune witchcraft, Rune Soul Curtain Shadow. After pinching it in his hand and sensing it for a moment, Tucker's mouth was slightly smiling. Well, it's totally possible to learn. Even if you keep repairing the minor damage during the upgrade, it will even make this powerful 4-star witchcraft's ecological niche much less capable. With a thought, he touched the entire Rune Soul Shadow. The power in the witchcraft seed was quickly activated, and a large number of witchcraft characteristics poured into Tucker's steam wizard ecology. 4-star rune witchcraft, Rune Soul Shadow. Through the sacrifice ceremony, shadows and souls can be woven. The higher the level of witchcraft, the more soul shadows can be woven. Each soul shadow can help the wizard withstand damage and attacks from the soul dimension. It can graft fatal damage at the soul level. The wizard can walk freely in each soul shadow. The scattered soul shadows are the wizard's window to deeply feel this world. Feeling this powerful 4-star rune witchcraft, Rune Soul Shadow, carefully, even Tucker couldn't help but sigh. Each soul curtain is a disguise of Tucker's own soul level. It is also Tucker's own container. Not only can it resist the damage of the soul level, but it can also be used as a stepping stone for Tucker to jump. This kind of springboard-style shuttle is much more powerful than the simple shadow travel. It is powerful, but the negative effects are also quite obvious. First of all, it weaves the power of shadow, which will make Tucker cursed by the shadow. The effect is the same as using the shadow ring staff, and the effect may be even heavier. For Tucker, perhaps, this is not a negative effect. The deeper Tucker sinks into the shadow dimension, the more powerful shadow creatures Tucker can contact with rituals. For example, powerful creatures at the level of Shadow Lord. Without the foundation of shadow sinking, it is obviously not qualified to touch those powerful Shadow Lord creatures in the shadow dimension. In addition to the negative effects of shadow, there is also weaving the souls of the dead, which blasphemes death. Tucker will bear the curse of the undead born from death. Tucker's perception of undead creatures will be weakened. He will bear the hatred of undead creatures to a certain extent. If he gets too close to powerful undead creatures, Tucker will even be hunted down. But in the face of the power of Rune Soul Curtain, these costs are acceptable. With the completion of the inheritance, Tucker began to upgrade gradually. With each level up, Tucker would invest a part of the source energy experience to repair the original slight cracks. Coupled with Tucker's powerful soul rune secrets and the strong shadow rune secrets, The slight cracks were almost repaired when Tucker upgraded, Ruined Soul Curtain, to level 10. When it reached level 20, even with Tucker's perception ability at this level, he could no longer feel the existence of the cracks. When it reached level 29, the rounded, full, integrated feeling was perfectly reflected in Ruined Soul Curtain. With the completion of the upgrade, Tucker slowly opened his eyes. He looked at the berserker who was struggling to break free from the shackles of the sheep transformation technique and the two corpses. Blood sacrifice, begin. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.